Alrighty, there we are. So here we are again tonight, Saturday, January 17th. We already have viewers on here, and originally I had this link just to YouTube. Now we are on Facebook as well. So a lot of people, I think a lot of people find it easier to just watch from Facebook. But if you are watching on Facebook, I will say it'll be easier if you do go to YouTube if you want to interact in the live chat. Um, because on my end, I see some of the comments from Facebook, but not all Facebook comments will show up on my end. It's mainly all YouTube. So if you're going to chat or have any questions about anything at any point in time, I will have the chat open. So, David and Melissa, welcome. How you guys doing this evening?
Oh, doing great.
Doing okay.
All right, very cool. Yeah, and yeah, our viewers are growing, and again, we'll watch the live chat to the best of our ability. Tonight, I want to kind of go over a couple things. I know a lot of you guys are familiar with the upcoming series that I've been promoting and posting about uh, Bigfoot Explorers, and there's going to be another one called Gone Rogue. Well, Bigfoot Explorers was supposed to already be streaming over a month ago, well over a month ago. Well, yeah, October. Yeah, it was actually towards the end of October. It was supposed to be streaming, and there was all kinds of issues going on. I was waiting to hear answers and get responses from this person, and they were waiting to hear from the network themselves, and so it was kind of a lot of back and forth. And come to find out, they had some network issues uploading new shows and everything else. So everything had to be resubmitted from the beginning and started all over. And I was told that everything's good to go this time around. I was just told this just a few days ago, and just within a couple weeks, Bigfoot Explorers will be streaming on Fossum TV. So, and then also, and then, well, another 2 weeks after that or so, Gone Rogue will start streaming. Uh, Now, Bigfoot Explorers, I did put what we have available on YouTube. You can watch them on YouTube. However, Gone Rogue, I haven't posted it. All that's going to be, you'll have to watch that first time around when they start streaming. I'm still working on new content on that. But with these series that we're doing, I want us to talk about what we're doing with this because I've shared a lot of posts regarding these new shows that we're working on, and it's got a lot of feedback just from people seeing the images of what we're promoting and even the trailers. And a lot of people are comparing them to uh, Finding Bigfoot, Expedition Bigfoot, or whatever other TV show that's regarding Bigfoot. Well, we're going to get into a little bit of that tonight, and I'm going to read the statement. I put a statement out earlier. I'm going to go over some of that. Uh, Now, David and Melissa, you saw what I put out there. Before I read it off, what's your take on the statement I put out there? I mean, how would you take that? Does it sound pretty clear to help people understand what this is about?
It, yeah, it puts it in perspective that we're not a network. We're not like all these TV shows, that's for entertainment and whatnot. Not saying that some of the stuff isn't real and what they're trying to accomplish out there, but we're just your average people out there doing their own research in their own areas, just trying to come up with answers of stuff that we've experienced or trying to find answers based on what other people have told us in the past. Just keeping it real. If
Right,
people's out there trying to look at for the aspect of what you see on TV, you're not going to get that. What we're doing is real life. We don't have a lot of fancy, expensive equipment. We don't have film crews following us around. Uh, it's what we go through our research. And if we do find evidence or something that raises questions, we try to find answers for it. We're just being real about it.
right,
There are things out there that we've experienced we can't explain, and we're not going to fabricate anything. We're not going to say we know everything that's out there. Uh, we actually want input from other people and get their ideas on what some of the things may be that we experience to give us other ideas or a path of direction to follow as we conduct our own research. And we have fun doing it. We're not under any pressure. Uh, for those that you sent me, well, I've seen some of the comments that you sent me where people jumping on board. I don't know what they're expecting from us or any other groups like ours out there that, like I say, boots on the ground. Uh, it's like they're expecting more from what we're trying to do, which is not, it's not possible. But for them to sit back and want to criticize, uh, call us names on something they have known nothing about, they probably don't even get off the couch and put their coffee cup down. I don't know where the mindset's coming from. It's unreal to me. Here we're trying to put stuff together to enlighten people, to show the possibilities, the stories of other people. Because if you go back over history, with in many different aspects, from the cryptids to the paranormal, history alone has documentation. And there's people that just want to sit back and ridicule all of that, saying there's nothing to it. When you can't prove there's nothing to it, they're basically saying everybody's basically a bunch of loonies out there running around, even through history up to what we're doing now, for no valid reason. And they contribute nothing to what's going on, but yet they feel emboldened to sit back and want to criticize those that's out there trying to do their own research and keeping it real. Uh, that's what I want to say on that aspect there, as far as that part. It's not going to persuade me any. I got no feelings to hurt.
right, right. Oh yeah,
I don't have any ego to bruise. I don't care about these people that want to criticize them, that want to criticize us or any other group out there doing this. I don't know what they do in their life. I don't care. But it doesn't matter what they say. It's not going to dissuade me or Melissa from doing what we want to do.
Right.
And if some people find it entertaining, that's part of what we're doing. We want to have some element of entertainment to it when you put these videos up to show what we go through. Now, we're not claiming we're going to go out there and find stuff every time we go out. That's not being realistic. I don't know what some people expect. Fortunately, the criticism from what I've seen is just a very small facet of the overall people that's looking at what you're doing, enjoying the videos, and maybe learning from us like we do from others on if they want to get out and do research, incorporating some of our tactics into what they do. Uh, but for those that want to criticize, have at it. My life's going to go on. I'm going to have my coffee. I'm still going to go camp with other people, like mind, with the like mindset, and enjoy what we're doing. Being with other people, get out, do some research, camp, enjoy wildlife, enjoy nature. Come across something, we come across it, something that we want to share, we'll share it. And again, major thing is we're not going to fabricate anything. We're not going to take something this small and make it into a mountain to try to make it something it is not. We'll explain what we got, like you do in your videos, and then you will come up with other possibilities to try to rule out or add to what you're actually discussing at that particular time in your videos.
Right.
But hopefully, I made sense of what I said on that. But these people that want to criticize, have at it. I mean, all I could tell them is get a life. If you don't want to watch a series or any other series like that, don't watch them. But don't feel like you're emboldened to come on and start criticizing and putting anyone in the Bigfoot Explorers or these other groups out there like what we're doing, like Richard B and all them, for no reason. Because you've got no evidence it exists or not exists. We're out there just trying to come up with answers. And I'm going to tell everybody now is when you experience something, audio and or video, and you capture it, something is going on. We have audio on stuff and we have video. We put it out there. People can make their own judgment on what to see or hear, and just leave it at that. And give us input. Give us some positive, valid input. Maybe other ideas to where we might be able to look in another direction and come up with an answer as far as what that may have been. It may not solve it, but give us input. Criticism, don't bother me any. I'm still gonna, live my life the way I want stuff. I know what I did through my two careers and enjoyed it. Now I'm out doing what I want to do on this end of it with the people, I want to be around and stuff.
Absolutely. So, I mean, yeah, you covered a lot of bases there. Yeah, yeah, everything you said made complete sense. I mean, you know, I think I speak for most of us. Us here, and then anyone else that watches or listens to this. Expedition Bigfoot. I love the show. It's on TV, so
So do
yes,
I.
anything that gets put on TV, I guess, is a form of entertainment, regardless of how you look at it. I guess once we get put on the streaming network officially, I mean, since we'll be on there, it will be looked at as a form of entertainment because people want to see what we're doing. What might be found. Um, but even with Expedition Bigfoot, they are on a large scale network, and finding Bigfoot, same thing. When they were going on, they went on for what I think like 12 seasons or something, 10 to 12 seasons,
Yeah.
and man, they've captured a lot of flack themselves. Everybody, and I think a lot of the negative side of things when it comes to what people say about all these shows. Again, a lot of them are either skeptics or just non-believers that want to watch for the sake of their own entertainment for whatever reason, and
And
something that
again,
they
there's nothing wrong with that aspect. Based on the context you're saying of that, they just want to see entertainment and whatnot, but they're missing the real picture behind it
right.
because you do have researchers out there and you have researchers that have a name behind them. They're not going to go out there and ruin their reputation over something that could be totally fabricated.
Mhm.
So I mean, you got to look at who's involved in it with the scientists and stuff like that. They're not going to go out and ruin their reputation. They're going to put in their input, be logical about it, try to come up with answers. But again, like you said, you got to look at the entertainment value. It's large scale. Money's involved. They got to have money to to pay the filming crews, the transportation, and everything involved in that realm. They've got to put in an entertainment aspect to keep the audience watching,
Yeah,
regardless
absolutely.
of what's going on. But look behind the scenes, because when people come out that's got a lifetime history behind themselves, being a scientist or a doctor and a primatologist, uh, in the physics, to where they've made a name for themselves, they're not going to ruin that by jumping on for just entertainment value only. They're
Right,
going to protect their identity, is what I'm trying to say. So a lot of people don't look at it on that aspect, but when you do watch these shows like that, look at it from that aspect. We don't have a budget. Everything we use, we buy ourselves.
right,
It's not it's not expensive equipment. Okay. Uh, but we accumulate as we go when we expand our research ideas and the equipment we have, but we can only get what we can afford. And what
right,
we have is not we didn't buy it, within 1 week. We've accumulated what we have over several years, piece by piece, to add to what we want to incorporate while we're out there doing research. Um, I wish we had more money for it, stuff like that. I can't afford a $6,000 thermal or FLIR that gives you crystal clear images at a mile out that you can blow up and zoom in on. What I've got only costs a couple $100 each. That's what we afford. But again, it's a tool. It's useful, and that's what we employ while we're out there as far as that. But just look at it. My main point is when you're watching these shows for entertainment, look at the people involved. They have a
yeah,
reputation. They're not going to get involved if they're going to be discredited. But then again, they got to stand back and realize with what's going on around them, that's got to be financed in some way as far as that. But that's what I got to say on that. They got to take things in perspective. And I love those shows too. I mean, I watch them. They gives me ideas on what we can do when we go out in the field.
exactly.
Winter
Yeah,
time, you can't get out there that much. Yeah, you got something to watch on TV, from the paranormal shows to all that, and a lot of it raises questions. Even with me, it raises questions when I watch how some of the stuff is done. Uh, but I try to be rational behind what my thinking is. And then I notice on some things, which I'm going to cover myself later on video, on how some of this equipment's used and what to watch out for. A lot of people don't realize that some of this equipment can be manipulated. It could be manipulated on purpose, or it could be manipulated by mistake without realizing you're doing it. You follow what I'm saying? But
oh
I'll
yeah,
go over all that later. I mean, I want to stay focused on now on what we're talking about here. But yeah, those shows are entertainment, and but there's money behind it, and I understand that aspect, and I'm going to continue watching it. But I'm not going to criticize what they're doing on that aspect either, just because it's money based.
right. William Nighthawk said, "What do you mean? You're not mountain monsters?" LOL.
Don't give us any ideas, William.
Oh Lord. Oh, William, if you're up for it, it would be great to have. We should get William on here if William wanted to join. um, so yeah, one thing I saw earlier too when I was sharing this, uh, somebody made a comment, and you kind of touched base on this, but and what they said is true. What they said is true that millions of people, yeah, are making money off of Bigfoot, and they're not lying, and that's a
Exactly.
fact. Bigfoot has become a marketing tool for so many different people and businesses alike, and yeah, a lot of people are involved with going to Bigfoot conferences or whatever because they know Bigfoot sells. So then again, there's that aspect why people do these shows. Okay, well, hey, I'm going to get involved with Bigfoot because hey, it's making money. One thing I do want to clearly state for those listening, we want you to understand. David kind of covered this already. Like everything that we do comes out of our own pockets, our own expenses, and we're not, nobody's funding us for this. This is not a funded project. Um, all the equipment, I mean, everything. I'm filming everything that we do. and I try my best to capture everything when it happens. I can't capture everything because we're not old. When we're out there as a group, we got people that sit back at base camp, and then there's so many of us that go out in the field, either during the day or at night. David's got his equipment running. He's got his extra camera. We both have thermals and whatever, audio. So we do have what little equipment we do have running and going at all times. So, and we do try our best to capture everything if possible. But again, everything that we have going on is, the equipment that we have. We have some pretty cool equipment. We may not have all the big fancy stuff, the hundreds of $1,000 equipment, the expedition Bigfoot displays. I mean, and we can look at that as a form of their entertainment because they bring out the big guns. They got the high dollar thermal drones that capture very clear images. We could get into talk about some of that here in a little bit too, about some of the stuff we've seen on those shows. Uh, it's very unlikely that you'll see some of that on our, what we do because they have the fancy equipment. They pick up images of bipedal humanoid images on thermal, walking or running through the woods. We don't have that ability. So
or not being at the right place at the right time with the equipment that we have.
that's true.
Because
Yeah.
a lot of times things happen when you least suspect it. And they say, well, why didn't you get it on video? Well, it happened that quick. I mean, you just happen to not be recording at that time. And then when you do get something or some other people like you seen posting, how come it's always grainy and stuff like that and whatnot? But they got to understand the equipment you're using. If it's not high dollar, your
Mhm.
regular trail cameras and stuff out there that we use, if you start zooming in on that stuff, you're going to get a lot of grain in the pictures.
Right.
You can't alleviate that. You're going to lose quality. You're going to lose definition. When we plan, we try to plan for safety when we go out because you mentioned people stand back at camp. So people understand where we're coming from. The area we're researching now, it's a primitive location.
Mhm.
Very few people go out there, but you do have people that will come out there to break into things and whatnot if you're not careful. So people stay back at camp for one, camp security. Two, they got access to the vehicles because if we head out the road and off in the distance, and somebody would get hurt or twist an ankle or something, we can call on the radio that somebody from camp to come out and meet us to pick somebody up. So we just don't run out in the woods and then run back. I mean, we have to plan ourselves on how we're going to do things and put certain mechanisms in place to be as safe as possible. But nothing's guaranteed. But you mentioned the camp aspect, people staying back. Well, that's one of the couple of reasons why we have people stay back at camp. Camp security, they got access to a vehicle in case we need a radio uh, for a vehicle to come to, bring somebody back to me. I've gotten hurt. Hopefully that will never happen. But, you got to have that element in place. You got to have it.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and the other reason, for those that don't understand, like why don't all of us come out as well as we have people that they're limited on uh, their mobility. I mean, yeah, they can get up and move around, but they can't be on their feet for long periods of time. So, uh, but so we take advantage of those people, by keeping them at base camp because, as you know, David and Melissa, you've been back at camp when you, John, and Mary, you guys all experience things at camp while we're out and about, experiencing our own things, and it's I love hearing when you guys get on the radio and like, hey, this is what's happening. I'm hearing it on the radio while you guys are telling us back at Big Camp what's going on. It's like, man, this is good stuff. This is awesome. I love it. Um, you know,
Well, that's a good mechanism to have in place because we've had a couple of incidents out there to where if we did not have that in place with radio contact with somebody back at camp, uh, it helps you rectify situations when they come up. Because remember that
right?
night we was out there, then Mary seen the red glow. Then me and John got to look at the red glow, and that was the camp. And I was telling Melissa walking around with you out way out in the woods in circles
R-
because she had a red. Because we had to rule that out. If we
Yeah,
did not have that back at camp and no radios, and we'd have seen that, we'd have been thinking something else was going on. So we
yeah,
was able to disprove that. So there's different aspects to that. And you mentioned we would love to have more people join the group, regardless of how capable they are as far as being mobile.
right.
Uh, at least with the some that stay back at camp that can't get really out there deep in the woods, they're still participating. They're
Oh
still
yeah.
serving. They have a useful purpose. And again, at camp, things happen at camp too while we're out
Mhm.
there in the woods, which we have a lot of time going on all that kind of stuff right now. But things can happen anywhere at any time. And the more people, the more saturated you can be when you're out investigating, just increases the chances and possibilities of something happening that we need to look into for that.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, we're there's things I have a lot of things that I think about I want us to try, and things I want us to do. Of course, you get out there and things start moving along, uh, and things start taking place. Uh, Everything changes sometimes. Like what you want to do doesn't always work out, and that's the way it goes.
Exactly.
You know, yeah, I would love for us to, I would love for everybody to be out there, paired up in either twos or threes if we have enough people to do so. I would love for everybody to have, if they don't have a thermal flare like we do. I mean, I got extra night vision devices. I mean,
So
I'll
do I.
equip. Yeah,
Ex-
yeah,
Extra radios, extra night vision. They don't need to go out and buy a bunch of equipment to join. You
yeah,
don't have
exactly.
nothing. I mean, they can become part of the group, and then we'll share what we have because we've got a few extra of each different type of pieces of equipment uh, that we just accumulated over time for that aspect.
Right.
Because if Melissa wants to use it, I got two IR cameras. Melissa can use one back at camp, and I can carry one in the woods with me. Now I've only got one IR though, but that's going to go with me in the woods as far as that part of it goes. But
Yeah,
sometime in the future, may get another IR, but we've got equipment, to
exactly.
be
I
able to
mean,
share.
thinking off the top of my head right now, I personally, apart from my thermal flare, I have four different night vision devices. A couple of them are they're binoculars. I got my, yeah, like I said, I got at least four different devices that I can think of that I could just, hey, okay, here, this group you could use this one, this group you use this one. I mean, it's whatever. The night, I
Absolutely.
mean, me running the main camcorder, I mean, that there alone's got night vision on it. Of course, you can only see so far with that, but yeah, I got my thermal flare. That always stays with me because that runs off of my phone. That little mini camera that I have for my thermal flare plugs up to my phone. And uh, man, I mean, I'm impressed with that little thing. I mean, I can see long ways very clear with that thing.
Yeah.
I
Well,
have the
what's some of the things you was wanting to go over with the that little spreadsheet you put together?
oh,
Is, is
yeah,
yeah,
so yeah,
is
this
that
is part
going
of the
to?
statement. Yeah, the statement I put out earlier. That's pretty much what I was going to read off a little bit here, just for those who haven't read it or seen it. And then we can kind of like touch base on that. Let me pull that up real quick. So yeah, I'll read this off real quick for you guys. Want for the listeners, sit back and I have this on my Facebook page. I've shared it in a few different areas. So I'll read it for what it says. I put this out as an official statement, authentic, in Bigfoot research of the following upcoming series. Uh, the Bigfoot, the Bigfoot Explorers film series and the Gone Rogue Bigfoot Search series represent a fundamental departure from mainstream paranormal television. Excuse me. We operate on a philosophy of transparency and raw exploration, intentionally distancing our work from the scripted docudrama style scene on major networks. What sets us apart? Unlike corporate produced series, our projects are entirely independent. They are filmed and produced by me, yours truly, Daniel J. Benoit, lead investigator of the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization, the ECBRO, which has remained a dedicated fixture in the research community since its establishment in 2010. Our team, real experience, no scripts. We are not actors. I want to put that out there very clearly that we are not actors or pretending to be actors. We are real people with real backgrounds. Um, Let me see. I lost my train of thought when I looked away from that. So yeah, we are not actors. We do not follow a screenplay. We are a group of dedicated campers and explorers driven by a genuine passion for the subject. Our team brings a high level of professional integrity to the field, featuring members with law enforcement and military backgrounds. This goes towards you and Melissa. So, providing a disciplined, tactical approach to field investigations, wildlife studies, education, ensuring all environmental data is analyzed with scientific literacy, boots on the ground experience, years of practical woodsman skills and long term field studies, our commitment to the truth. In an era of manufactured thrills, we choose authenticity. No pretense. We do not pretend to find evidence for the sake of a cliffhanger or for the sake of your entertainment. No manufactured drama. Our goal is not to entertain through staged scares, but to document the reality of the search. Legitimate research. We are the authentic group out to enjoy the wilderness and, most importantly, to find real answers. Bigfoot Explorers and God Road are more than just shows. They are a transparent look at dedicated pursuit of the unknown. So there you have it. Um, I think you know that pretty much well sums it up. Again, we can break that down to explain to people. Yes, William Nighthawk says boots on the ground and no BS. That's right. Um, but like I said, we go out there. We're out there. We're doing our weekly group campouts, and we're out there. We're going to make sure we're having fun. Don't worry about that. We're out there to enjoy ourselves being there. Period. Um, but everything that comes into play, yeah, we'll go out. We go out on foot. We explore. We try to look for things. You
Yeah,
know.
but when you said we go out to have fun at the same time. But I will say, based on a comment I've seen, we are not beer swigglers and dope smokers.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah.
does not happen. I don't know why people want to throw that stuff out there to try to make us something that we're not. Okay. But again, I've
Speak for
got my
yourself,
life.
David.
It's
No, I'm
not
just
going to
joking.
bother me. It's not going to persuade me. Yeah, but you know the intent of what he's saying. We're out there
Right.
probably running around intoxicated and smoking dope. I no, we don't do that. We're not bushwhackers dressed up to find nothing. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know where these people feel emboldened to be able to make comments like that to try to put people down when they have no clue of what we do and how we go about what we do. Uh, they, for them, live your life the way you want. We're going to live ours. You don't need to criticize or put people down, whether it's us or any other group that has stuff on YouTube or whatever the case may be. You're not accomplishing anything other than showing your mentality. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Right. Uh, yeah. Uh, you know, like even David mentioned earlier, I do invite others to come out there. I mean, we got some new people planning to come out there this coming May when we're out there again. We'll be out there in May, for a good week. Uh, we got people from coming from out of state, which we've had in the past. We've had people from North Carolina, Pennsylvania. Um, we got people coming from Massachusetts this time around, and which we Tim Vogel and his brother Eric. I'm looking forward to having them for sure. They're pretty decent guys. They're very down to earth. And um, not just that because they have experiences as well. Anybody that wants to come out with us, you don't have to have a Bigfoot experience. Um, we want people to see what we do. We want people to come out and to enjoy the outdoors and nature because I like to believe that we are educating people at the same time because Melissa, she's been very educational alone having her out there. Uh, people may not think it's a big deal, but when you look at these different plants and these flowers and and she's telling, "Oh, this is what this is, and this is what it's good for." I love watching shows like that. There's one guy I watch. He's based out of Kentucky, and he's very cool. I forget the name of him, but I watch a lot of him, and he's in the field all the time. And the one thing he said, the real classroom has no walls. Um, some of you guys might know who I'm referring to. I don't know his name right off the top of my head, but he is big into the outdoors. He knows a lot of little things.
Well,
Some
I've
of
got to
them,
take her out in the woods now because I ain't got no backyard left. She's done tore up everything out of my backyard. There's been sitting in vials and jars in here now, so I got to take her out in the woods so she's getting new plants and herbs and stuff.
Well, you got to think about. I was raised basically in the woods. This is life experiences for me. I grew up in this area, and I know the area. I was taught by my parents and by my grandparents and stuff about the different plants and stuff. Plus, I have been learning, by reading my own books and stuff and learning myself about what each plant means and what its uses are for and the ones you want to stay away from. And that's just a part of learning. It's just a normal.
It is.
Yeah,
It's
we're
good.
just normal, down to earth people
It's
with
good.
life experiences.
It's good to have her out there doing that. I have learned a little bit from her, but I don't know. I can't absorb everything that she knows. That takes too long. But that's just another aspect to go out there to be able to, for other people to have
Mhm.
other interests and abilities to be able to teach people other things along with what we're doing out there. Now, sometimes your hike might be a little bit longer because the last time we were camping, what's her name came down from uh, ah on the last camp out. She brought your birthday gift. I can't do it. I'm trying to think of her name right offhand. Uh,
oh, you
Oh,
talking about?
uh,
Oh, Valerie.
yeah,
Valerie. Yes.
Valerie.
Sorry, Valerie, if you're listening. I
Sorry,
mean,
dear.
it just came to mind. I'm trying to pull names out of my head, but we went hiking one afternoon, and what would normally take about 20 minutes to cover a certain distance took about 45 minutes because her and Valerie would stop eating everything along the way. So, I mean, me and Luna had to stop waiting on them a few times. But
Well, you
that
got
makes it fun. That makes it
yeah,
fun. That makes it fun.
absolutely. You got to wait for them to find their ghost pet, whatever they're called.
The ghost pipe.
Well,
Ghost
that was
pipe.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pipe.
That's another thing. Yeah. It's
yeah. I
fun.
want to
It's
give
interesting.
real quick. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Joe Torrey. Joe Torrey is based out of Illinois. He is the film producer and the man behind the scenes of um, the Shiny Bigfoot. He's got a lot of films under his
Okay.
belt. Uh, yeah, he's the one that he was filming us out there in Illinois, Southern Illinois, a few years back. And yeah, but he's the one that he also commented the channel I was speaking about. It's called Nature Resilient School. Is the channel is the one I was trying to think of, and he knew what I was
Okay.
talking
I
about.
see it there. Nature is in school of. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Reliance. Yeah.
so
Interesting.
and William goes on to say, yeah, you can learn a lot from the environment and the wildlife always, and that's one thing. One thing I tell people a lot of times. You know, I don't care if you see an animal in the woods. I don't care if you know have an experience or not. Just being there alone, you can sit there in total silence. I know this may not make sense to a lot of people, but you can if you spend enough time in the woods, just meditating or just enjoying the peaceful sounds of the natural sounds of the forest, you'll be surprised what you'll actually accumulate through your knowledge and time. There's a
Yeah,
lot to
woods
learn
is like a
just being there.
yeah, woods is like a healing place.
Yeah,
I love to go out in the woods and just sit and just listen. Listen to the leaves rustling. Close your eyes, sit down on the ground, just listen. Feel the environment. Absorb it. It is so wonderful and relaxing.
A very small percentage of the population actually does that.
Hmm.
yeah,
And for the majority that do go out, they're around 500 or more other people, a bunch of campers and tents sitting around, and noise and 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 music playing and all this other stuff and whatnot. They're not
Hmm.
experiencing what you can experience when you're out there by yourself or a few other people. That's why I like getting out there a couple of days in advance before you all show up because it's just me and Luna out there, and I can sit by the campfire by the street bed, listen to that, And you'd be surprised at the animals that come around when you're out there and you're being quiet. Even though you got a campfire going, you can just feel what's going on around you and what comes up. You can hear them, and after dark and everything, because going from daytime to nighttime is like going from one
Completely
world to the other,
different environment.
because you lose your sight for the most part. And a lot of people can't take it. It takes them out of their norm.
Yeah.
Uh, it's That's why I like to, if we could ever get a paranormal group to go out there with us and analyze some of the stuff we experienced. They may not be into the cryptid aspect, but just for the paranormal, to see if they can actually document some of the things that we experienced in the last couple of campouts. But then again, I'm going to tell you, that's out of their norm. They won't stay within the walls of doing what they're doing, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I
Well,
like to see more of them getting out there with us and doing stuff like that at the same time for
Yeah.
what they want to do. Then we'll be out there doing, what we do on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, a lot of
well,
people, I guess they want to criticize other people that go out and do things that sometimes they probably wish they could do, but it would take them out of their comfort zone.
yeah,
And a lot of people don't like that. So I guess part of their way of not really lashing out, but expressing their opinion is to lash out at us because it's something that they probably wish they could do. They don't for whatever reason. And, I find the woods very healing. Yeah, I'm going to say this, Daniel. I hope it doesn't upset you, but with me, going through my breast cancer journey that I've went through this last year, it killed me not being able to get out in the woods and go hiking and stuff. And to me, it was wonderful this last trip when I was able to go out with you all that one night because I'm still trying to get my energy all back and stuff from the radiation and different things, but I'm just a normal person trying to enjoy my life. I enjoy camping, I enjoy hiking. I want to get back into it really badly. It's hard sometimes. And when people are making comments about us being drinking and smoking dope and stuff like that, no, no. That I do take offense to. I am
yeah.
upset about that because
Yeah, don't bother me none.
that's not what is going on. I
Don't
mean,
bother
Yeah.
me any.
yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you. I am right there with you because I know it shouldn't bother me. Like Dave said, it's let people think what they want, which
Yeah.
that's the case. But I mean, I can't lie and say it doesn't bother me. Is because what bothers me is people want to judge something before they learn about what it's about. You know, it's like I can post images and promos and stuff, but that's what people are judging the book by its cover. You know,
yes.
Well, the reason it doesn't bother me, the one I owed, is because I know what I've experienced. I know what I've captured on video and stuff like that. And
right?
I'm nobody. I'm not out there to make a name for myself. And I just that recently started documenting, putting stuff out there on my YouTube channel and stuff like that. But from growing up, what we experienced in various stages of life, and multiple people experience it at the same time, that's not your imagination. So
Yep.
I know what I've experienced. I know there's more to life than what people realize. Most people sit on the couch and drink their coffee, they go to work, they come home, they get up, it's a routine after routine after routine. And then there's the vast majority that do experience something, but they got that mind lock. It didn't happen.
Mhm.
One situation, I'm not going to get into the story, but with me and my brother involved with my dad one evening at home way back in the 60s, not to date myself, my dad denied that night ever happened and took that to his grave because he did not want to get out of his comfort zone. But for people like that, I'm going to wrap this part up with saying, even though you may not believe in the paranormal or the cryptid aspect, just entertain the fact there's always a possibility. Entertain the fact that just keep an open mind. Get out and talk to people. Listen to what they say. I'm going to tell you something else too. Is like William Nighthawk. We met him at the first conference that you had, Bigfoot Con, uh, a few years ago, and he's enlightened us with so much information about the Native American aspect of a lot of things that's going on through
Oh,
his
for
life,
sure.
culture, the entire works, and it's given us another avenue of trains for thought. Uh, Gave us a lot of information about what they believe, what they seen, how they live their lives, and it's not just him and his uh, Native American heritage; it's all the Native Americans basically had the same thing. I mean, there's what some written and documented, but a lot of it, if you go back over hundreds of years, every Native American had talked about uh, how did they word it? The tall man of the woods, or tall. They all had their own different phrases as far as describing something tall that lived in the woods. And he could go more into that aspect of it. I'm getting a mind cramp here on some of the terminology of what the Native Americans did, but you cannot stand back and say over history, and you can even go back to the Incas and everybody else, the different things that happened, that everybody's crazy. That's
Yep.
not the case. That is not the case. And I'm going to start rambling on that aspect,
Oh,
but
there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
well, no, there's history there. And if
Right.
people just open up their minds a little bit and learn a little bit about what's happened over different cultures over time, from centuries to thousands of years ago, things transpired that, but again, they don't want to get out of their comfort zone because they don't want their normal life messed up to where now they have to incorporate thinking and worrying about something else. But I mean, it is what it is, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Something you were referring to. Dario said, "Big Brother." David is called. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Big
that was one of them. Their big brother, and if they do a little bit of research,
Spirit of the
the
Woods.
different
Yeah.
Native
Hairy
American
man.
hairy, the hairy man of the woods and stuff like that. I mean, all people have to just open the mind up, and they may not still want to believe it, but if they look into it, they may just one day sit back and says, "Well, possibility." But again, that's not going to dissuade us from doing what we're doing out there.
Yeah.
I'm glad William Nighthawk came into our life and stuff like that. We met him at your Bigfoot Con, and he's expanded our knowledge on stuff that I had no inkling of what was going on. I'm not a knower of Bigfoot. I have not seen him. Okay, you've experienced something with you and your group here a few years back from how you got more and more into this. So we encompass many. John, he's had an experience, part of one of the group members. Um, we'll take anybody. You don't have to be a Nora, have your own experience to be, be part of the group to get out there and research. Let it evolve. If you come across something you can't explain or whatnot, that's just part of what you're experiencing at that time. Uh, and I'm still learning. We're always learning. We're always going. We're always revamping how we research. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. There's no experts out there. Um, just take it for what it is. But yeah, don't feel emboldened to criticize people as far as that because that's just showing that you've got a very shallow mentality of what life is really about. And I can say that because of what I grew up, what I've witnessed, and what I've seen, and what I've documented, able to document, which ain't a whole lot, but I was fortunate to get some documented, audio and video. It just raises the questions that yeah, there's more going on than people realize.
Yeah.
They got to get off that couch.
Yeah.
My life's
You
going to
know.
go on. It don't face me a bit.
You
I'm
know.
gonna stir, drink my coffee.
As long as I've been involved with this whole Bigfoot research, I've what's the best way to put this? Uh, just on social media alone, and there's so many people I've come to know and learn about. I'm not now. I haven't been able to meet all these people, but I've gotten to know a lot about a lot of people involved with this whole Bigfoot research. And people, there's people. You have the other group of people that will pick and choose who they want to follow and who they look for as a mentor or their piece of knowledge. They want to learn from those people. And some of these people that are putting themselves out there, such as myself, and now, you guys don't realize, but you guys are being put out there. If you guys like it or not, because you're involved with what I do, so you're being put out there. But I guess what I'm getting at is some of these people. I will say this for a fact, and some of these other individuals have been involved with for a long time. There's some people. Some of these individuals are much older than I am, but And I've always looked to the older, because you tend to learn some kind of knowledge from these people.
Mhm.
However, there's some individuals who I've kind of, I don't want to say tested, but I observed. I sat back and observed, and this goes back to when I first got involved on the whole research side of things. When I got on social media, I was blown away by how many people were actually involved with the whole Bigfoot research. Now, I never jumped on board with any of them because I was watching and taking notes of all these different theories that people were throwing out there. When I first got involved, it wasn't as bizarre as what it is up till this point now. I've only been on here for, about 15, 16 years now, but I've learned a lot about different people, learned a lot about what they claim. And sometimes some of the other people that's been with these other people will tell on these other people. Like, and I'll explain that. I've learned from other people about other people, which things I've already picked up on before I was ever told.
Mhm.
You kind of learn about the con artists, the bullshit artists, the people that want attention. Um, some of these individuals that go out there and make these claims, I'm not going to call all of them liars. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to call them liars, but some of them, you really start paying attention to certain ones. Like, okay, you have to learn about certain people that are being put out there. Like, you want to know, do you really want to get involved with these people? Because you learn over time that these people are simply complete BS. You know,
And you've got, and that's just not over the Bigfoot aspect. You've got that in
right,
every field,
right,
and people. I know people understand that they do have that, and
right,
I'm the same way. When I've watched other things on YouTube, people that I get wind of, and I go pull them up, and again, I question, what they're doing, what they're saying. And there was one that come to mind. I'm not going to mention the channel because I can't remember the channel, but he's got his camera. He's filming himself walking around. He says, "I'm being followed. I'm being followed by two of them. They're two juveniles." To me, that's not enough.
yeah,
If you show me on camera that they're small juveniles, two of them that you're being followed, I can understand where some people become hypocritical about listening to some of these stories because I listen to them too. Now, am I going to take what he's saying at face value? How does he know? If he can see them to see too, why doesn't he get it on camera? See, I can be
yeah,
just as critical too about judging people. I'll listen to the stories. I'll take it for what I want to take it for, and
right,
then I'll just keep my own thoughts to myself. And maybe I'll learn something from them. Maybe I won't. And if not, I'll just move on to something else as far as that. But you got to keep it real. Don't fabricate. A lot of them's doing it for the clicks on the YouTube.
yep,
Uh,
exactly,
Granted, everybody would like to make money. I'm gonna be honest about that, but we're not out there for that. Otherwise, we'll
yeah,
be out there every weekend and everything else, just throwing video on video on video and stuff like that. Then you start getting into fabricating things and whatnot. And I want to stay and keep it real. That way, there's not going to be any question about anything that comes up if we actually find something that we could document, prove, or try to get answers to help us prove what we documented.
right,
And I mean, that's a viewpoint I'm going to take from it. I mean, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Criticism or not, don't face me a bit. I do listen to people. I do get judgmental based on the story they're telling. I mean, you can't have a camera filming yourself and saying I'm being followed by
yeah,
two, and but why don't you turn your camera around and show us the two that you've seen that's following you? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah, it raises questions. I understand that. Um, and he's all hyper and stuff like that. Well, you got a camera, turn the daggone thing around,
yeah,
uh, or pick up the sounds of something walking in the woods, following you if you can hear it and stuff like that. But that's it. When him that comment's made is to say he's telling his audience he can hear them and he can see them and he can identify how many. It's
oh
all
yeah,
word,
yeah,
and I can understand why some people get critical watching some of these channels. Make it keep it real, okay?
yeah,
If you can't show two small juveniles following you, don't blow it out of proportion, like this individual was doing. I mean, that's me though. I mean, again, I take it at face value. There's a lot of people I've watched. They got some. A lot of good stuff out there. And again, I have not had my own experience yet. Melissa has. Well, I can't really say she had based on it, but we're not going to get into all that. There's one of her camp out stuff like that. That's not the purpose of this video here. It's basically what we're about. Why some people criticizing what's going on, with us and stuff, and trying to make us out to be something that we're not. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and people also got to keep in mind too is when we go out in these primitive areas here in Virginia, we take we can't logically we can't do what some of these people say we're doing, being intoxicated, running around out there and smoking dope. Because when you take kinetic protection out there, you can't be doing that stuff.
Yeah,
And I'm not going to be jeopardizing any of my rights or anything like that for doing stuff stupid out there.
exactly.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So you got to put logic behind it too. People making comments like that, they have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. None.
Exactly. I mean,
None.
because I don't know where everyone else researches, and regardless if it's on private property, of their own land, or whatever you may have, we are on national forest in the
Yep.
state of Virginia. And national forest, people don't realize it's actually federal land. It's federal. It's actually considered federal property. And yes, it's primitive. It's very remote in a lot of these areas that we're in. But yet, it's made for the public to come in to enjoy these areas.
Mhm.
Uh, and then, even though my time has been being out there with you guys, I think I might have seen a park ranger, but I don't think I've seen actually a game warden to come. I think they need to be out there more than they
I've
should.
not seen one yet.
Yeah. I mean, with some of the people that have been out there, there's been people camping out there longer than I can remember. That shouldn't be camping there that long. There's somebody that's. Last time I was out there was still somebody set up the same way in that very corner spot. So somebody's staying there, living there. Hopefully, they know about the area because if they're still there, they're shit out of luck because they're locked in now. I'm sure by now.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't research the laws and what the requirements are because they don't realize here in the George Washington National Forest, it's a maximum of 14 days a month.
Right.
2 weeks out of the month, you're allowed to camp before you got to pull up and move somewhere else.
Yeah.
Uh, but again, where we go, a lot of people don't go back here because a lot of people's not going to go and park at the gate and walk almost a mile to the lake to fish.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do that. Now, hunting season's different. You get a lot of people come in during hunting season, but summertime, you don't get a lot of people coming in back here. So that's why I like that remote area because we've been having activity back here anyway.
Yeah.
Unlike a lot of other areas where you just swarm with people driving around all day long and night, stuff like that. We don't have that back here where we're at, which that's what I like.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've gotten to meet others. I got to meet some of the people that come out there to hunt and whatnot. There's some pretty decent people that come out there, but just like everywhere, I don't care where you're at, you're gonna have your
Well,
wackos, that show up
some,
every now and then.
some of the most credible witnesses will come to you when they have just like we had that one logger to stop by that one morning. I wasn't able to talk to him. You wasn't able to talk to him. He talked to Drew. He's seen us out there for the last couple of times camping throughout the year because they're back there driving these logging trucks, cutting down trees. And he took it upon himself to stop one morning to tell Drew about strange stuff that was happening to him one morning when he was coming there by himself, waiting on the other loggers to show up.
That's true.
And when you get stories like that, people stopping by themselves, telling you what they encountered, I don't think they really want to go public with it, which a lot of people don't. To me, that leads credence to what we're doing out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that morning or not with that logger that stopped by.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys. I think I was in my tent, or I was either at the store, not, or in my tent sleeping or something. I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, we really didn't know what was going on until basically the conversation was over with, and he was driving off, and Drew was telling us, what he stopped for. He was telling Drew his story
Yeah.
about what happened.
Yeah. Because that might was that in like you guys recall? I think was that in the morning hours?
It was
In the
very
morning,
early in the morning. Yeah.
very
Okay, because I was
very
probably
early.
just waking up, and I probably wasn't. Yeah, I was probably getting myself situated to get out of the tent.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I
See,
wish. I mean, I don't blame Drew, but when he started telling the story, I wish he would have told the guy, "Hold on a minute, uh, they holler for you and me to come over there, or at least you to come over there and listen to the guy's story. But the
Right.
story went on, and Drew got caught up in him telling the story. He didn't think about it till the story's almost done. The guy was driving off.
Oh, he also had a load of logs on the back of the truck too.
But he stopped. He would have waited a
Uh-huh.
few minutes. Daniel would have gotten right up. I would imagine the stuff came right on over as far as that to listen to the story.
Shoot, I would
But,
invite him over, come have breakfast with us.
but
I'm saying, hey, you're busy going back and forth. Come here, have something to eat. Let other people find a way
well, none of
around
my
you.
spots, I normally don't have breakfast. So, I mean, you fix breakfast. So, yeah, you can invite them. You can fix some ham and eggs, I guess.
John and Mary, get cooking. We got company.
Yeah.
Nah, that's cool though. 'Cause, hearing that little bit of information coming from the logger. Like I've mentioned this before. Not just in this particular area, but there's been other reports in the general area. I don't want to mention the whole name. Um, you know, well, I'll say the Falks Run area. I'll just say that. There's other parts of Falks Run that I've camped in before outside of, where we're at. Well, I've learned from bear hunters that have witnessed seeing what they describe as seeing they called it a Bigfoot because they know these are bear hunters. I mean, wouldn't bear hunters that hunt bears all the time know how to identify a bear? But what they're describing is seeing is like, what else is this? This bipedal humanoid peeking back and forth behind a tree, while they're in the woods with their dogs. I mean, these bear hunters that are claiming to see Bigfoot out there.
Mhm.
So this area has a history. I mean, from based off of what we research, and that's another thing I want to tell people. We're not just going into a random location and not knowing nothing about the area. Too, we research the area, we study the area. We want to know the history behind why we're finding these leftover old homestead foundations out there. So we've been researching that. And we talk about this on the videos and stuff. So we want people to know, like, hey, there's a history here. As we learn about it, we'll share it with people. The more we learn, we'll continue to share it. We want people to know about the area we're in. We're not just in a random location. Uh, Apart from that, everybody knows West Virginia's got a lot of Bigfoot history. We're in Virginia, but from our location, we're only so many miles away from West Virginia.
The
Uh,
forests connect.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've told people before, and you can look this up for yourself. It's public information if you do a simple Google search. We're in the George Washington National Forest. Now, some years ago, I used to tell people, well, the George Washington National Forest was over 130,000 acres alone. It's actually more than that, from my understanding now. The more I looked into it, yeah, George Washington National Forest is well beyond I mean, it's in the hundred thousands. It's a lot of property, and and not if you take the time to look at the geographical layout of the western part of the state, all the way down to Southwest Virginia. You have the George Washington and then Jefferson National Forest. They all connect, and then they reach into other forests and other state forests in other states.
And the Smokies, too. It's all
Yeah,
part of the Appalachian Trail.
exactly. We're in the Appalachian region. For those
Yep.
who want to know, we are a part of the Appalachian. So it's all there, and not to mention an individual I used to associate with. I'll I'll never forget, and he's right. 'Cause if you take the time to look at the Shenandoah Valley where we're at, he always described it as being in a salad bowl because you have the Blue Ridge Mountains, that come all the way the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Massapequa Mountain Range. I mean, we're surrounded. I mean, we're on high ground. You got the Appalachian Mountains, you got and the Alleghenies, and we're down there in this lower valley. So there's been right here, not far from my home, where I live here in Augusta County. I've had Bigfoot reports. People seeing them right here in the valley. I mean, they must be passing through. Coming down off the mountains, going working their way through. Um, I had an old supervisor. His wife, that she was retired. She was long retired. His wife was much older than him. He's still, as I run into him every now and then, he's still working. His wife, since then, has passed away. But my old supervisor from a company I used to work at, she came into work. She came into work just to sit down on my lunch break to tell me her story. It was on one of the back roads, just a few miles away here. She was driving down the back road during the daytime, and of course, she grew up out here. She knows she's seen bears. She lived out here all her life. But she told me one day, coming out of a tree line by the edge of the field, here's this 6 to 7 foot tall humanoid bipedal figure covered in brown hair. Comes across the road and continues across on the other side of the field, which it runs parallel with like a creek bed. And she told me, she said, Daniel, if this was a bear, I would have been able to identify it. I'd never seen a bear stay on 2 feet and run. You know, so when I heard that, I thought that was the most incredible thing. It's like that was like 10 minutes away from where I lived on that back road. The same back road I take my grandson to school. You know, um, so there's Bigfoot here in the valley. I've heard of. I met up with eyewitnesses just north of here. I have seen them driving over on the other side of the mountain. You know, so there's Bigfoot here. There's a history. There's
Well,
so
I've
many
had people
reports
send me a
I've.
couple of private. I have a couple people send me a couple of private messages a few years back when we got started in this on Facebook. They didn't put it in the regular chat on Facebook. Said they didn't know about see it, but for them to take the time and send me a private message on what they encountered out here in Falks Run, and one of them was a bear hunter. Him and his wife seen
Mm,
him by one of the bridges out there close to where we're at. Just got finished crossing the road and went into the woods on 2 legs. Um,
wow.
and I give more credence to stories like that too when people get with you privately. Um, now, I understand based on where you work, you got to be careful about what you talk about, what you want to pursue, especially some professional environments because they may take it wrong and think that you may not be fit to be for to be able to perform certain
Yeah.
types of duties, like my two careers, for example. That's why I didn't get into it when through my two careers. 'Cause I didn't think people I was going off the deep end. But it's a shame you have to have that mentality until you can get that behind you before you can pursue what you want.
Right.
Like we're doing now. But people, I personally, I don't think Bigfoot's passing through. I think they're here.
Hmm.
I I I think they populate all up and down the eastern seaboard. Because when you start up north, come down through Virginia, West Virginia, all the way over into Tennessee and stuff like that, and the Smokies, and it's a huge area. I mean, I can't see them. Personally, I mean, I'm only guessing here, migrating around. They got to have a population base. You got to have a breeding base. I think they're just around,
Yeah.
all over. I mean, I don't think they pass through like migration. That's me though. I can't prove it one way or the other. But the area is so vast, and we have so much wilderness out here that hardly nobody even goes into. Nobody
Yeah.
really knows. I mean, you got to have a population. You got to have a breeding base. Now, how does that work? I have no idea. Do they stay as a family unit, or are they like mountain lions, to where you have a mating pair for a while until the
Yeah.
female becomes pregnant, then they split up, and then they raise the female raises the young until it gets to an age and they split up. I don't know
Yeah.
how that dynamic works. We can only guess at it. Uh, but I think they're. I don't think they migrate. I think they're here.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know how else to explain it as far as that.
Plus, in this area, as we all know, in the Shenandoah Valley, it's a very cavernous area.
True.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lots of underground caverns, lots of caves, and it would be a perfect place for them to live.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Talk. That's funny you bring that up because I'm fascinated with caves and dens,
Mhm.
and I'm always out when I'm out in the woods. Like I go out in areas. Well, first of all, like I said, I try to get to know the structure, the geographical layout of the land. Trying to look at where a possible place like a cave or something would be. Like some of the times, like I've ventured out deep in the woods there. by myself, when I've camped there by myself, and there's areas out there that look like that has potential for a cave like area to be in. So I'm constantly looking for these kind of things because there's a theory, and I believe there's a lot of truth behind this theory that people believe that Bigfoot lives underground, and to say they live underground would say a cave
Absolutely.
structure. Caves are underground, so. Yeah, we know bears and mountain lions. They take refuge. They take advantage of these. Of course, a bear will dig out their own den a lot of times, but yeah, I look around a lot of the rock structures and stuff. I'm constantly looking for stuff like that, and I see openings. I see things. There's an area out there around Elkhorn Lake. I have there's areas I yet to like. I've seen what looks like possible cave structures or cave openings, but they're not easily accessible. So I'm looking. Okay, maybe that's something where a bear would just go. That's going quite up a steep hill. I've climbed some steep ridges and hills, but it's not as easy as it looks. but
No.
so, but yeah, that's something I'm constantly looking for because that's my theory. I was like, I'm not afraid to take a chance to venture. If I see something, if I have access to get to it, I know people thinking I'm crazy, but maybe I need to have somebody to stand back for backup. But I've done these kind of things before, up around Elkhorn, way up behind the lake. I've ventured up behind the ridges and hills there, where I've looked at what might be a cave, and I've to find the truth. I've worked my way up to find these places. Come to find out, some of them were no more than just a big rock with an deep overhang or something to go underneath it to take cover. But you
They
know,
they can serve as a shelter. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, these are things I look at. Um, some of my old YouTube videos, things I filmed out there, I can't prove it. It's very inconclusive, but I feel like there's some of my old video footage I can put out there. My older footage where I believe I may have possibly. I'm not saying I did, but it's just possibilities where I may have captured something moving around because. I recall, I'll bring this up, or I'll make mention of it real quick. I climbed this very high, steep ridge. And again, this is way up behind the lake. And it was after I climbed up to where I wanted to look at that big giant rock that looked like it had a cave opening in it, which it did. Like I said, it had a deep, any like all of us could camp under it. That's how big it was. But I got up there and I spent some time up there because I wanted to rest and relax because I was out of breath. It took me a while to get up there, but I got up there and I had the camcorder I had at the time. I had it set up on a tripod, and I was using it to zoom across to get a view of the other side of that ridge because I had a pretty good clear view of the opposite ridge, which was pretty high up. And all of a sudden, I was watching very carefully through my camera. It was actually pretty clear focus, but the wind was blowing, and you could see the leaves moving. But something on the opposite ridge caught my attention. I said, "What the heck am I looking at?" I swore up and down there was something dark moving back and forth. And then there was something else a little bit taller that was dark with it. The tall thing didn't look like it moved, but whatever was smaller and dark kept moving back and forth. And I stayed focusing on it, make sure I wasn't having an illusion of the leaves moving. There was something on the other side of the ridge that was up there. And the more I looked at it and the more I focused on it, there's something over there. There's really something over there. But I couldn't make out what it was. It was so far. I was zoomed in pretty good, but it was still a good distance. I mean, I want to believe that, hey, there was maybe two of them over there, a young one with a little bit older one. I don't know. It moved bipedal. It didn't move like a bear or any other animal. But I don't know. I can't say I saw a Bigfoot out there or not, or filmed one. But if I could find the old video footage, it's probably most likely it's on my YouTube channel. It's one of my. I have a lot of old video clips of my field videos out there, and I don't know. Maybe if I pull it up, maybe I can enhance it and see if I. I don't know. I don't know what I could do with it, but there's been times out there where, I never claim to people when I see something and I can't identify it or it's inconclusive. I'm not going to say it's a Bigfoot. A lot of us would like to say that because, I've often stated, when we find odd things out in the woods, it's so easy to say, yeah, this is Bigfoot. Bigfoot did this because Bigfoot's on our brain. You know, I know for a fact that I'm the same way. When I'm telling people, you got to get Bigfoot off the brain, but that's easier said than done. You know, everything you want things to be Bigfoot. So, but yeah, I mean, if I post that video footage today, yeah, people are gonna say, yeah, you got a female and a juvenile that was on the opposite ridge watching you. You know,
And there'll be some that'll say that without concrete evidence.
right,
I
exactly.
mean, they're going to see what they want to see.
And again,
Uh,
my thing is, I personally want to believe that, but I can't. It's not safe to
exactly.
us believe in that. You know,
And now you're back to keeping it real.
right? Uh, I mean, there's been so many things I've come across, like foot tracks, for example. I could talk about foot tracks, and I've told people this numerous times. I have found tracks out there, and you have to really know what you're looking at because there are times where I've been deceived multiple times on my own, thinking I was looking at Bigfoot tracks. But the more you look at it, and like, oh, wait a minute. If you take the time to really, really take the time to look at some of these tracks that are found out there, bear tracks have been deceiving, so deceiving. They deceived me until I realized, wait a minute, there's more than one track in this one. What appears to be one track, there's actually two tracks in there. You know, so I've come to learn and been able to identify a double set bear track. You know, over the years. And they're not all gonna appear to be that simple to notice, or observe. Um, so again, people got to realize that not everything's Bigfoot. You know, as much as we want it to be, it's not all Bigfoot. You know, I get excited. I really do. I get excited and want to say, "Hey, look, guys! I think I found a Bigfoot track." I mean, I'll say, yeah, exactly what I just said. I think. I'm not gonna say I did. I think this may be a possible. I always like to use the word possibility or possible. Because there's always that possibility. But, so um, hold on. I want to go back to bring up a couple things that William shared on here. I didn't. I was overlooking. Most indigenous nations' legends of creation start with us coming from the underground world. Okay. Listen, you have to go out not expecting an encounter because you must make the connection to the land and wildlife before encounters happen. I believe that.
Yeah.
I do believe that. With that being said, it's kind of like goes back to where we mentioned earlier. When you go out there, regardless if you hear anything, see anything, nature. We were talking about how nature alone could be a healing, tool, or it's something that we can meditate in and get so relaxed, and it takes the stress off of us. But again, like I was talking about, if you spend enough time out there, you'll learn things. You know, regardless if you see something or experience something tonight. To me, just being out there is a learning tool. But so I mean, I encourage people. There's people I understand that can't get out there like we can, and so that's where for those who can't get out there, that's why I do want to try to make it educational as much as possible. You know, I've always tried to do that on my own field videos when I've gone out over the years solo. I want to point out things. I I think a lot of my videos in the past, a lot of people appreciate them because I've had people tell me thank you for sharing this and showing what you're doing and what's out there because we can't get out there. So that encouraged me to do it more and more and more. Um, like if I see wildlife uh, evidence, like I'll explain. Okay, well, this broken tree could have came from this or this and that, or if I found the exact evidence of what caused it, I'll definitely point that out. There's a lot of things that wildlife is responsible versus weather and so many other factors. And I try so hard to get people to understand that Bigfoot or whatever cryptid you're researching should always be the last consideration. One person once told me it's like a crime scene. You want to try to rule out all the suspects. Again, that's easier said than done because there's so many different suspects out there. But Bigfoot should be the last on the consideration board, because to many, Bigfoot doesn't exist. So, I mean, I find it more entertaining to myself and more fascinating if we can rule out all these other possibilities. And again, it's easier said than done, So, but yeah, right. William said, yeah, not everything is a Bigfoot structure. As much as we want to believe some of them are, I mean, there's people out there that will point out every broken tree out in the woods is Bigfoot, not realizing, hey, bears do that. Bears are notorious for playing and breaking trees. I've seen bears will uproot trees. Bears will do all kinds of crazy stuff to a tree. Then again, you got nature itself, weather. There's, people don't realize what all these natural causes are made. That create some of the stuff that we give Bigfoot credit for. Um, so Um, so yeah, again, everybody, we do. I myself, everybody here, we do try to make things educational. You know, you might be looking for the entertainment side of Bigfoot. You guys want to see Bigfoot evidence. It's not going to always happen. I mean, as much as we want to provide that for you, uh, in time, maybe that will happen. But we're not going to go out there to pretend that what we find is Bigfoot related. And we have things like David talked about earlier. We got things going on out there that we don't know what's going on. We don't have
And just
answers right
and,
now.
and just started happening his last two campouts too.
Exactly.
The last couple of years have been out there. We didn't experience the stuff that we experienced this past summer. Why? I have no idea, but we all experienced stuff
Yeah.
and got some of it caught on audio and video. So
Well, let's go back real quick. Let's go back a little further. When you guys first started camping out with me, we were up around Elkhorn Lake. Now we didn't have no kind of weird oddball experiences that we could contribute to, like say the paranormal, for example. Yeah, we've heard vocalizations and stuff out there, and you know, uh, and then of course let's back up. Melissa had an incident out there. One of the main group campouts we had out there, Elkhorn Lake. Now, Melissa, I know you've shared this a few times with people, but could you touch base? And kind of fill the audience back in on about that, because I want to. After you share that, I kind of want to go in on talk about a couple of the experiences, and because Elkhorn Lake, that area, besides me having an experience out there myself with five others, and there's other things that's happened with me out there, I kind of want to touch base. But if you want to share the audience for those who never heard that story about what you heard one night,
and
around,
while she does that, I'm gonna take the dogs out right quick. So go ahead and
yeah, because I have to go pee real quick, so that's why I haven't heard the
Daniel.
rest. So go ahead, Melissa. It's all on you.
Okay. Yeah, we were at Elkhorn Lake camping, and it was late. I had decided to go to bed because I was tired. I took Luna, who was a pup at the time, took her to the tent with me, and we went to sleep. But David and him came in later on. He came in and went to bed too. Nothing out of the ordinary until about 5:30 in the morning. I started hearing stuff outside the tent moving around. You could tell there was animals or something out there. I call them creatures, but it got my attention. I tried to, I propped myself up trying to find my phone. When I went to bed, I'd put my phone and glasses underneath my pillow, underneath my sleeping bag, but they weren't there. I couldn't find them. Found them later on underneath my actual cot on the floor of the tent. But I heard a lot of movement, and then I heard a lot of sound. It was whoops. It was whoop whoop, but it sounded like there was three of them, and I was trying. to get my husband to wake up, David, but he's a deep sleeper. He would not wake up for anything. And but Luna, she was alert. She wasn't saying anything, but she definitely heard it 'cause she kept cocking her head side to side, to and fro. And I went and made the decision to try to crack open the zipper to the window that was next to my cot where I was sleeping. And as soon as I hit that zipper and cracked it, the sound just went away. And you could hear whatever it was just completely scatter. But the sound itself, when I was on my cot, it sounded like it was about 3 feet off of the ground, the voices of the whoops. And not too long after that, I started feeling kind of sick, started getting a headache, started getting really nauseated. I was lightheaded, I was dizzy. Um, but I had went outside, I got dressed, went outside, and I thought for sure everybody else in the campsite would have heard it too, but nobody heard it. I was the only one that heard it, even my husband. He didn't even hear it, and he was in the same tent with me. I don't know what it was. I have no clue, but I can't get the sounds out of my head. I have been all over the internet trying to see if I can find those sounds on recordings that's online, but I have not been able to find them. It it drives me nuts because I want to hear those sounds again.
Now
I want to hopefully be able to get back to Elkhorn Lake, to that location at some point
it
in
can
the
happen
future.
anywhere.
Yep. And I would love to just go back to that location because when we looked around the tent and stuff, we didn't see anything. There was no tracks, no nothing. I don't know what it was. I know I was not sleeping. I was wide awake as I was hearing all that.
But the thing of it is, and to to get back to keeping the real aspect, and
Hmm.
again from my mindset, I'm not saying her and Luna didn't experience what they did, but keeping it real,
There's no.
there's another human physiology part to this where if you get startled by something, and most people's felt it, when that adrenaline gets to pumping, you get that flow of blood going through your system so fast, you will get
Hmm.
headaches. Some people will feel a little nauseous. Normally, that will subside within a few minutes, an hour or so after the event. But when it lingers beyond that for a day or two, now you're getting into a whole different realm. If you understand what I'm saying, trying to bring up on that. I try to keep it real. That could be a possibility of why she had her headaches and so on and so forth. Not taking away from what she experienced, that could be another aspect of why she felt like she did shortly thereafter. But then again, when she said she didn't feel right for the next couple of days, that lingering effect, yeah, that could have been infrasound. How it affects your body, your nervous system, and without getting into all that, which I'm not an expert in that anyway. But again, I want to keep it on the real aspect. You got to throw in all possibilities there. Yeah, we'd like to find out what she experienced that night, how it transpired, what it was it, and Luna being a pup, she didn't react to. She ain't gonna react to much anything, barking or anything like that. She's more of a chick. She lets you know when something's around, but she doesn't get aggressive.
Hmm.
Which again, I like that aspect too. I don't want her to become a mean dog, which I don't think she will. She's too good natured. But again, that's just keeping it real in that aspect. Why she felt what she did after that, because adrenaline flow will do that. But normally that was
Hmm.
aside shortly thereafter when your body gets back to normal. But now if it lingers for a day or two after that where your body don't feel right, there's something else at
Hmm.
play.
Yeah, because my
I can't
headache.
pinpoint it, but
Yeah, because I had the headache and the dizziness for a couple days, but the nausea kind of subsided after a few hours. But I was also extremely tired too. It was just like it just sucked the energy right out of me.
so that tells me something else could have been at play besides the adrenaline flow aspect of it. And again, that's again, I want to go by keeping it on the real aspect. because you got to look, like everybody says, you've got to question everything and look at everything and all possibilities. Then when you start putting things together, they start to add up. You have to maybe start looking beyond that to try to come up with an appropriate answer if you can.
Yeah, I used to be an emergency medical technician for almost 13 years. So, I've had my share of adrenaline rushes because you get them when you go to certain calls, cardiac arrest, or you have a really bad traffic crash or something like that you're trying to work that scene on. But this felt different. I have no way to prove it, but it felt different than the normal adrenaline rushes that you would get.
Yeah. Um, when me and David stepped away, you did mention about hearing the whoops, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So one of the things I wanted to bring up about regarding that. Now, I mean, you were talking about having the headache and everything. All the years I spent in that particular area out there, I spent a lot of time out there by myself, hiking a lot of the ridges and hills, way up all through there, even on the West Virginia end up there. I've been through there numerous times. I can't say I've ever experienced anything that would be contributed. I mean, there was one time I camped out there with my grandson where I had a serious migraine where I couldn't go to sleep. It had me up puking up. I had to get on my tent to puke. It was so bad. But besides that, anytime prior to that, I never had no experiences like that. But I do want to throw this out there. I don't know. I may have mentioned it to you guys. That location where you experienced hearing all that, if you go outside of the camp, go out to the forest road and go up across the bridge, go across the river, that next camp spot up off the right, it's where I've camped at. I've camped in that spot numerous times. It's usually where when
Mhm.
I go out there, I usually take my grandson. I've camped there with my grandson. I've camped there with my daughter when she was younger. Um, and I've camped there with. There was one individual I used to associate with. Me and him camped there back in it was 2013. Back in 2013, we had camped there, and we had two little dome tents. Our tents were right next to each other. We're sitting outside of our tents, had the fire going. We drove out there in his vehicle together. He had one of the old military style type Jeeps, old Willie, whatever. He had the thing jacked up. He had his trailer hooked up, and we're sitting there. Now he had a parabolic mic with a his audio recorder hooked up to it. He had that sitting on top of his Jeep. His Jeep was about maybe 15 feet from us, off to the in the back part of the way we were set up. Well, we're sitting there one night. It was kind of quiet. And we're sitting there. Hold on, I got something popping on my screen. There we go. Hey, we're sitting there. We were chatting amongst ourselves, and then small talk here and there. And we're sitting there in our chairs, dead quiet, not hearing nothing else besides hearing the sound of the fire. And then from out of nowhere, it sounded like what we heard next was just on the other side of his. Now, I mind you, like I said, his Jeep is maybe no more than 15 feet away. And on the other side of his tent, we're hearing something. We didn't see it, but you could hear it. It was like 4 or 5 times. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Like 4 or 5 times it did that right in a row. And I was like, when I heard this, I didn't recognize it as any other known species of wildlife whatsoever. Not saying it wasn't, but to me, it sounded very primate like. Anyone who's ever taken the time to sit and study all the various vocalizations of a primate, this would kind of like lean towards, okay, what the heck is there a primate doing over there? I got excited. I was like, Fred, are you hearing this? He said, I hear it. And then I was like, okay, this was right there. So I'm thinking, dude, this is right here at camp. You know, Long story short, I was like, I said, you got to play that back. You got to play that. He gets up to go get his audio recorder and everything that was sitting right on top of his Jeep. It was never turned on. I was like, son of a bitch, he never had his
Oh,
audio recorder going. It happened right there at our camp, which again, right through the woods is where the other campsite was where you had your experience. So again, this was back in 2013. So I've heard the whoops out there. I've actually heard them during the daytime out in the woods, but very, not as clear as what I heard them that close. Um, so yeah, I kind of wanted to share that because just on the when it comes to whoops and being that it's in that same concentrated area, it's like you heard what you heard, and I was telling you, we were wide awake, and me and that other gentleman heard it right there at our camp. So, and not to mention, I can go into other details because during the daytime we explored that area, and up behind there through some of the trees, there's a lot of grassy areas where after doing a daytime hike, coming down off that bridge behind us, we came back down, headed back towards camp, and we saw these very large impressions. Like you could see where something was stepping through the tall grass, and whatever it stepped on, the impression stayed there. So, was it a very massive, large bear, or was it something else bipedal? That's been hanging around that area. So, but apart from sharing that and collaborating with what you experienced and that incident back in 2013, like I said, I've camped there with my daughter when she was still a young teenager, and I remember one particular time where I was talking on my phone. I was doing a video. It was at nighttime, and she's sitting on a chair up against the tent, and I'm standing about 15, 20 feet from her, and I'm talking on the video, kind of like nonchalantly, just talking, blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, I got shut up in my tracks because right behind our tent was you could hear it. She heard it. She was kind of tired. She was like laying there. When I heard it, she perked up, looking around because we hear wood on wood, tree knocks right behind the camp. But, okay, something was nearby, like giving a knock. Um, so I don't know that particular area. There's some activity that goes on right in that concentrated area, that general area. So it's like they come around, of course, in nighttime. Of course, there's been sightings in the area during the daytime, from what I learned years before that. But I mean, I'm just going based off of the experiences I've had in this area. So I wanted to share that, and I'll let you bring that up so I can collaborate. For those who've never heard that before, but
that's
I honestly
interesting.
believe there's definitely Bigfoots or something that roams and works that area. So, but,
Yeah, that sound. I can't get that sound out of my mind
yeah,
because I can still hear it, but I just can't find anything that recreates it and makes it sound like it.
yeah. I've heard people say, "Oh, coyotes make that sound." I mean, I've heard coyotes make all kinds of weird sounds and stuff, but I've I, and I've told people too, if you want to get familiar with sounds that you've heard before, some of them are could be
Mhm.
recognized or identified eventually. But
Yeah.
I like using YouTube. YouTube is a good source for looking up wildlife sounds.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
me, I've used it looking up fox sound, different sounds from foxes, coyotes, and owls.
Yeah,
You know,
owls are very frequently
yeah.
misconstrued as being Bigfoot.
Now, like up around the Elkhorn Lake area, it's more common to hear the barred owls. I started to get more familiar with hearing the screech owl being around where we'd be camping at because
Yeah,
I
screech
can't
owls
recall
very.
ever hearing screech owls up around Elkhorn. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not there, but I'm so used to hearing all the different vocalizations generating from a barred owl. I never heard anything I could say that was a screech owl out there. I'm sure they are out there in that area, but yeah, barred owls, and that's another thing people don't realize. Barred owls make so many different vocals and tones, just like coyotes. Coyotes make very different levels of vocals and tones.
Mhm.
Especially
Well, one of the big one is that monkey chatter. Remember
yeah,
Yeah, there at Elkhorn.
remember we heard of that one night at Elkhorn, and I came back and I got to looking up owl sounds, and I can't say 100%, but the the barred owl with that monkey chatter was similar to what we heard out there for that.
Yeah.
So I mean, now based on that, you got to rule out basically. Well, probably not Bigfoot. It's probably a barred owl, and that's what people need to understand is a lot of people don't go back and research to try to disprove or find another explanation of what they may have encountered or experienced. Because if you do find another explanation about what you may have experienced, then you're right back to square one without any
Yeah.
other evidence. And that's why we're we're going to keep it real.
Yeah, and that night, not one of us thought to record anything.
Yeah.
And we were hearing no sounds, and because you're just like, what the heck is that? I mean, you're focused on the sound, and you forget, hey, oh, I need to turn on a recorder, and you get my phone, turn on and
Well, a
record it.
lot of it happens too fast, so you don't hear it again.
Yeah, because it
Yeah,
happens
that's true.
quick, definitely.
And it's something that goes back to one of the things I've heard David say. It's all part of trial and error. you know,
Hmm.
Well,
you
that's
know,
why we gotten into setting recorders now. Record overnight
right?
instead of hit and miss. We'll set them out, just let them record it early evening, all through the night, and go out and pick them up the next morning. And see if they pick up anything that way too. So
Yeah, absolutely. There was something I was going to bring up or make mention of. I guess I'll think about it here in a second. Um, let me look at the comments. We got comments over here, and yeah, I want to remind everyone that's listening. If you guys have questions too, we love questions. Anything related to what we've just talked about, discussed, or anything you want to know about what we do when we go out filming for these shows and everything. If you have questions, we want you to ask questions. Um, we're not going to sugarcoat nothing. We're going to tell you like it is. We want people to understand if you guys are just going to start watching and following, Bigfoot Explorers or the upcoming Gone Rogue series, uh, you know, we want you to ask questions. Or if there's something like David even said earlier, if there's something you want us to try, or if you have an idea for about something that you might have already watched about what we do, please share it. 'Cause, we all learn from each other. We want to learn from you. Hopefully you guys learn from us as we experience things and share things out there. Um, I one thing I do want to work on too is possibly trying to, uh, like I'm filming out there. We're not always together as a group. We're sometimes when we go out there, we do spread apart. So one of the things that I know, David, you got a camcorder. You know, um, I think that's something we need to work on too. If there's something that you're doing in a different area and I'm not with you, maybe film or document something, and then we'll get that. We'll get all the footage and everything together. And then I can piece it in when I do the editing. 'Cause, I want people to see from both ends. Okay, well, Daniel's filming up in this area with so and so or this group. What's going on down here. I want people to see where we're at. Even if I could get people at the base camp to start recording something, you know, if they're experiencing something again with their equipment, whatever. Uh, if I could teach them how to look, okay, hey, I got other cameras. I'll bring other camcorders out there. I got two other camcorders I can set up. I was like, if I could leave this group with a camcorder, hey, I want you to film what you're doing and what you're documenting. And, I want to be able to. We need to work on that. It will help improve
Hmm.
the details about what's
well,
going on out there.
like I mentioned before, just bring a couple of extra flash drives, and I always take my
Yeah,
laptop anyway, so I can always transfer any recordings on the flash drive so you can take it back to your house to do your editing.
right.
But you got
I
to
mean,
have
of
that
course,
medium for me to be able to put the to give the transfers.
well, yeah,
Flash
and
drive,
plus
yeah.
when we go camping, I mean I have been bringing my laptop out there, so I mean I can plug up to my laptop and transfer there and get everything there too before we all leave for the week. But so yeah, I just want us to be able to document everything possible. Because like we could get on camera and talk about so and so experienced this, and we could hear them talking about it. But I would love for us to, like, okay, this group was experiencing this. Why didn't we capture it on camera? We have, and that's the thing. I have extra cameras. Even a GoPro or action camera. Um, like I got one, you got one, and plus you got camcorders. Like I said, nobody's getting my Canon cam camera. My main camcorder that I use, nobody's getting that but me. I
Oh,
got.
come on now.
I mean, I might let you use it. I mean, because I trust you. But
Now I did let Melissa use my action cam for the first time that one night when we duplicated that one sound and stuff, recorded and stuff. So
oh yeah,
I eased up a little bit on some of the expensive stuff a little bit. I let her wear it that night. She brought it back safe and sound.
yeah. Now I have my Sony Handycam camera. I've had that for a long time. That's always produced very good footage. Now the other camera, you have the same one I have. The other one, it's we got off of Amazon. It actually has night vision capability on it, which is cool. I've actually done a little bit of playing around with that. It actually does pretty good video footage. It really
It
does.
does, but again, with that one, you got to be pretty much stationary. If you get moving around
Yeah,
too much and too fast, it gets a little jittery.
right.
It can't keep up with the movement. But if
Yeah,
you have it on a tripod and stationary, or you move slowly with it, you can get some pretty good decent footage with it.
yeah. Now, like even with my the main camcorder that I use to do most of the filming now, because I have it on the highest setting for the highest quality setting. I can't, I gotta pan. If I pan, I gotta pan slow with it. I gotta make sure I pan very slow because it's set on the highest definition, highest setting. It will blur up, and you gotta wait till it comes back into focus when you slow down or stop. Because of the settings I have on it right now.
Yeah.
Which that makes sense. I understand that because but that's why I use a much higher, powerful SD card for that now. So, and that's another thing. People out there, you guys go out there recording with your devices and stuff like that. These are things I've learned over time, and I'm still learning more about it. And I've learned a lot from David himself because he's a photographer and he does a lot of this. So, but as far as filming, people don't realize you can go to the dollar store and get an SD card and put it in your device. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to have good quality video footage because it's kind of hard to maybe David can explain this, but like
When it comes, first and foremost, when it comes to SD cards, you got to look at what that piece of equipment, whether it's a camcorder, action cam, whatever, what it's rated for. If it requires a V310 SD card, you can't get anything less than that. That card is not going to perform.
yeah,
So you got to get what that piece of equipment requires or higher.
yeah,
You can't go down. So you got to look at the manual, see what's required for that piece of equipment. You can use a cheaper one, but you're not going to get the video out of it. It's not going to keep up.
yeah.
I found that out with my Canon camera, my 5D Mark IV. I was playing around with it, doing some 4K recording, and I was getting jittery video.
Mm-hmm.
If I put it on 1080p high definition, it was smooth. The problem was the I got great cards and CF cards. They're bigger than the SF, the micro SD. I mean, it does great for 1080p, any photos I want to do. But if I want to do 4K recording with it to get that smooth footage, I have to get a card that's going to be about a $300 card to do it. It's got to have that fast rewrite speed to keep up with the 4K.
Mm-hmm.
But that's for my Canon 5D Mark IV. Now, other cameras is going to have different requirements. That's why you got to look at the manual, see what is required for that piece of equipment, what kind of a card it requires to be able to operate effectively or higher. You can always go higher, you just can't go lower.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like with the camera that I use, and I've shared it publicly. I like to share my equipment with the public, let them know, hey, what's being used for this filming of this video. Mine is a Canon A X110, whatever, well AX10. It's a pro professional camcorder. Um, Now, like I said, I've been learning as I go, and I've learned that yeah, having the higher class or the proper class required for that type of device, like David was talking about, you need to learn your equipment and learn what it requires, what kind of, what class of a SD card. So, I got a good class SD card. It depends on based off of how many gigabytes. Mine, I think the one I got was what 200 something, 256 gigabytes on this SD card I have.
Now, as
Now,
far as your focus, you got to look at your camera. You said it takes a while to focus in when you're moving. Check your check that Canon recorder to see if you've got your autofocus setting to where it will focus faster. Because
okay,
I know on my stuff, I could set the autofocus to where you want the cinematic look to where it shifts not fast but not slow. Where
right,
part of it's going to be blurred while you're focusing in on the main subject. But there should
yeah.
be a setting in there, is what I'm saying, to where you can increase making that autofocus faster or slow it down.
Right.
But that's something you're going to have to go into your settings to see if you have that option for that. And a lot of that depends on the lens that you got on your camera. Of course, that's built in anyway. So it should just be one setting to be able to tell your focus to focus faster and or slow down or leave it where it's at. That's all understanding how that stuff works based on the type of look you're looking for.
Yeah. Now, from my experiences, since I've started using the higher quality setting on my camera, I personally haven't really noticed the blur when you pan. Like I tend to pan real slow anyway because I want to pick up as much detail as possible when I'm moving around and whatnot. But after going back and looking at some of the footage, I personally have not noticed any kind of blur because the blur. The reason I brought that up because I read on during my research on when I learned how to change the settings on my camera. Because of and having the SD card, all that has a lot to play with. On how it picks up on the
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But it's actually, I mean, overall, it does pretty good. I haven't really noticed. If anything, it might be very, very little to none as far as having a blur when it comes to panning to your stationary. But because I've used it a lot of times. I've that's why when I go out there by myself, you know, I'm filming what I'm doing and what I'm finding out there. But I'm also using that as a learning tool too. Like, okay, I'm watching my camera. I'm looking through the screen. Sometimes you won't always be able to pick everything up when you're watching through the view screen. But I do. I mean, I try to pan. I try to look. Like, okay, if I'm trying to focus on something uh, as I'm panning, and it's been doing pretty good. I can't really complain on anything on that. But as far as when I did the research, I read on where things could blur during panning and stuff like that because of the
Well,
high
yeah,
settings I have it.
it's shifting. Part of that is shifting focus. Your
Right.
lens has to focus on what you want to focus on.
Yeah. Now I
And,
also learned
and
I could put
generally,
in.
it's going to be the closest, whether it's your subject or not. The closest thing in the field of view is what it's going to focus on,
Yeah.
unless you're able to tell it what to focus on, like face movement or tapping your screen to keep focus on the background and not the chair that's 10 feet from you.
Right.
Because the autofocus is going to select the nearest thing to you unless you tell it otherwise. So if you
Right.
got somebody 25 foot walking by and you're filming them and you're panning around, if your camera's not focused on them by you telling it to, then you got a chair between you and them. You got a tendency to where they may shift focus to the chair and make them out of focus.
Right.
So you got to
Now.
look at that, see how your camera's set up to understand the settings behind it.
Now I do currently have it set on autofocus. It seems like it's for me personally it's easier.
That's
Now
fine.
I
Yeah,
and
but
I put it.
understand
Yeah.
how that works. If you
Right.
got strictly autofocus, it's going to focus on the closest thing nearest the camera.
Right.
Okay. That's how the autofocus is going to work. It's got to focus somewhere, and the camera is going to be focusing on what's closest to the camera. If you
Right.
walk around your house and turn on the autofocus, just walk around your house and 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 focus. And just move past something that's sitting on the table close to you. You'll watch the background go out of focus, and when you move away from it, the background, if that's the next thing, it's going to focus on that, and that object on the table is going to go out of focus. Now,
Right.
if you've got face recognition on there to where you can tell the camera to always watch somebody's face and follow it, it's going to stay on focus on that person's face.
Yeah.
You got to see how you're set up for that, but that's it has to select something. The camera's going to select the nearest subject, unless you've got the capability to tell it where to focus after that.
Right.
And
That's
you're getting
true.
into other stuff on that.
Yeah. Now I played
Again,
around.
play with it.
Yeah, I played around right here in the yard with it on manual focus, and manual focus is pretty good. I learned how to do it pretty quick, but it's like it would take up more time using manual focus when you're trying to film scenes and capture people talking and this and that. Um, like I said, I learned how to use the manual focus. And it's okay. I think the manual focus is good if you're just trying to take a single scene shots or a picture. But yeah, when you're with a group of people out in the woods and you're constantly moving, I think autofocus to me, like I
You got
said, to me personally, it seems like it works a little bit better that way. But so,
you got to if you're going to use manual focus, you're going to have to practice with it to where it
yeah,
becomes second nature.
right,
Like
exactly.
I said, if you're out in the woods and a lot of stuff's going on, you're going to miss a lot of stuff. And that situation, I just leave it on autofocus.
Yeah,
That's me though. I mean, everybody's different for that. But unless
absolutely.
you're having trouble, keeping something in what you want to focus on, then you may have to resort to manual focus. But it's all workable.
Yeah.
You just learn how to do it. So.
And real quick, off the subject here, I wanted to respond to something Harold Denton said on here. He mentioned something about he saw my beard. He says he was making a comment about I have as much white in my beard than he has in his. Well, this part of the white that he sees, right? I've actually had this for a little while now. The rest of it's starting to get gray, but it's still dark on the sides. This part here has always been gray. It's for as long as I can remember.
I'm waiting for you to get two strings of beads and just tie it down on each side of your jaw down and let it come down. The beads like the Vikings used to do.
Hey, that's coming. That's coming because hey, I'm very much big into the Viking scene. Trust me, I very much am because um, yeah, I do have a lot of. I have Viking bracelets, Viking necklaces. I have all that stuff. So yeah, that's in the works. Don't worry, you'll see that soon enough. The
And we're
beard's
going to be associated with you, aren't we? Okay.
yeah, I mean the beard's still short. It's still got a. This is short compared to what it normally is. This here is usually down to here,
Yeah, I don't know.
but so but yeah. Vikings and Bigfoot. That's another subject.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of the whole Leif Erikson story. So,
Mhm.
which that's been a very well, I shouldn't say a very, but it's been a debatable topic. For those who have looked into that, there's a lot of speculation on that. For those who are familiar with the story of Leif Erikson, him and his men when they landed here back in I think it was like back around 900 AD, encountered some what they describe as some hairy beast-like creatures. I don't know what exactly. I can't remember the story or if they mentioned where they landed or not, but uh, some people like to believe that they've actually experienced encountering different type, some type of tribe from Native Americans. But some of the descriptions describe them seeing very large, hairy, beast-like creatures back when they landed here on this continent of North America. So I don't know. I actually have a blog about that. I don't remember the story per se, but that was always fascinating. You know, uh, to learn about that. Like Leif Erikson, him and his group, they were explorers. They were Viking explorers that actually claimed, or like I said, this speculation. I don't know if there's anything concrete to say that this story is legit, but you know, Sasquatch Chronicles actually posted a blog about this, which was pretty cool. And I added something on my blog site on ecbro.wordpress.com, which I haven't updated it in a while, but it's got some. I like to share some stuff on there. Yeah, the history of Bigfoot here in North America, it goes back a long ways, a lot longer than people realize. So
It goes back drawing on caves, or rock, well, not cave, but rock walls
yeah,
that
uh,
depicts hairy creatures on bipedal. So
yeah. Now, uh, yeah, I know we wandered way off topic from what we originated, but that's okay. Because I love getting into other stuff.
that's our norm, Daniel. That's our norm. We never stay on topic. I mean,
That's how I tell people when I do presentations. Like I say in the beginning of my presentations, I tell people that it's in the audience, try to stay with me because you're going to hear me go off topic. I'm very random. I go back and forth, but that's just the way it goes. 'Cause it makes things interesting. I don't want to stay too long on one topic. I mean, I don't mind coming back to it if it's something we can talk about on it, but
well, as long as we don't start sounding like Captain Kangaroo and Story Hour, we'll be fine.
What's that?
well, we could be like Mr. Rogers,
No,
you know.
no, 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 no. I do have an image. I do have an image to maintain.
Well, what about those donuts, David? Now let me stop.
That's the past.
I know.
Those are relics.
As much as I joke about that,
Long time ago.
yeah. As much as I joke about that, you don't like it when I joke about that, do you, David?
No, it don't bother me any.
Okay.
I get a kick out. And in case you're wondering, I did not have a career in making donuts. No, 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 no. I worked at a donut place for for like 2.5 years to help them out. They were shorthanded when she was having surgeries, and I was there 2.5 years part. I was already retired from my other careers, so it
Yeah.
gave me something to do to get out of the house, help them out. And of course, I got slack from Daniel and everybody. He even made me a freaking apron. But
yeah.
I get a kick out of it. I did it, I mean, I did enjoy working there with some of the people, but a couple of years, it got me out of the house from being retired from my other careers. So
Yeah.
now I left there this past last April, and I ain't planning on working anywhere else again. Now I don't need to.
Yeah. Um, David, I was wondering, um, now before you guys met up with me, now you guys you guys were in the paranormal field before you got more into the
No,
Bigfoot cryptid stuff. No, you weren't.
Research, no, no, getting out in the field doing it, no, because I was still at the sheriff's office at the time before I retired from there, and
Okay.
and uh, and we didn't have the time, and again, like I mentioned earlier, it's depending on the career path you're in. Some things you've got to be sort of reserved about because of a lot
Right.
of people's mindset.
Oh yeah, that's
Not
understandable.
everybody, but you you got to watch out for yourself.
Yeah.
So we stayed low key on it, and it was wait until I retired, and when that happened, then we could get into it more, and then we met you and William and stuff, and you opened up doors and stuff, and so we just went down that path since we have more time and availability to do it.
Yeah. Well,
And
that
that's
makes a
not
lot of
counting
sense.
our own person. That's not counting our personal experiences over the years, but actual research. We didn't have the equipment or nothing to do it with. We didn't get all that until we met you and William, basically, and linked up with you and camping and all that other stuff, and we just progressed from there.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys familiar with Greene County here in Virginia?
I've been through it a couple times, but I'm not familiar with it. No, I know of
Okay.
it.
Well, if you guys know where Elkin is, Greene County, if you take 33 and go east over the
Hmm.
mountain, it drops down into Greene County. Well, I know a gentleman. He's been out to my events before in the past. And I don't think he's retired yet. I mean, I would assume he's probably getting close to retirement by this point. But I know his name. I'm not going to mention his name publicly because I try to reach out to him to do an interview with him. But like I said, he's come out to my events. I met him personally. He is a police officer in Greene County, and yeah, he did share with me one time on night patrol that down on the other side of the mountain, he told me he's a witness to seeing a Bigfoot.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I'm not saying that don't happen. There's a lot of them out there that will talk about it, and with certain people,
well,
but
yeah,
they're not going to be running around talking about going out camping every other month, stuff like that, looking for the stuff.
right. Well, right. I mean, the reason I brought that up because, like I said, I know he's being cautious too because like I said,
Mhm.
he's still working for them. He's not. I don't think he's retired yet, but I guess people like him that they're also looking for the reputation. He's in his career. He hasn't retired yet, and so. But I want people to know that there's some credible people out there that actually have seen Bigfoot. I mean, law enforcement, military, and I mentioned earlier, there's people like bear hunters, and I look at bear hunter. People don't realize it, but bear hunters, longtime bear hunters, they know their bears, they know their wildlife. For them to come forward and say they saw a Bigfoot, I mean, you have to take into consideration these guys seen something out there. They know it was not a bear, So these are things that I think a lot of people should consider, for the skeptics out there, um, but yeah, I just wanted to bring that up there. But David,
Yeah.
I was wondering, like the reason I was asking you earlier about as far as the paranormal side of things. Somebody, well, either it be your paranormal experience or your strange experience. I was wondering if you could share with us something that you may. What's the strangest thing that you ever experienced versus compared to something maybe somebody that's in the area. You don't have to mention their names, but I was wondering if you could share your experience along with anybody else's experience that you may have learned about over the years. Um, I don't know if there's something you can think of right off the top of your head if you know of anybody or yourself included. I mean, I know you and Melissa have been experiencing some weird things with her hair being flipped up. I seen the video footage
Well,
the one time.
that was lifestyle we got on video. I put on my YouTube channel, but every experience that I recall that I have in my mind, it happened to me growing up, and yeah, we ain't got the time to get into all that. All
I
I
mean,
can say,
if you wanted
all
to touch base on some of it, that's totally fine with me. I mean, I'm sure the
well,
audience would love to hear stuff.
well, it would take too long. Well, real quick, going back without getting into a lot of detail, going back to me and my brother one night, we woke up. Our dog Stretch was down in the basement barking at the top of the stairs. We heard something hit the steps 2 or 3 times at the bottom of the steps. We go downstairs. It's a 2-story house with the basement. Dad was sitting on the edge of the bed. He was listening to Stretch too. That was the dog's name. Carrying on the way he does. Now we knew something was not right with him. We knew his bark when he heard emergency vehicle sirens. We know how he sounded when he got into dog fights because he was a half cocker spaniel, mean tempered, mean disposition, I should say, towards other dogs. Every time he got loose, we'd go look for him. We'd say all we had to do is listen for the nearest dog fight. We'd find him. That's the kind of disposition he had. But anyway, the dog was strictly terrified and barking in such a vicious way that we did not know why, but we heard the sounds on the footsteps. Something hit the bottom of the steps 3 times, and Dad was sitting on the edge of the bed. He gets up. We follow him to the basement door. He starts opening up the basement door. He had his flashlight in his hands, and as soon as he got the door open, Stretch came up as soon as he was able to get through the door and the bottom of and the top of the step. Went and hid in the house. Dad threw the door open real quick, turned on the basement light, went down there, walked around, but nothing was there. But we all three heard it. It affected our dog. Nothing was down there. But that's what he took to his grave. He denied that night ever happened. Me and Brian talk about it every time we go to Kentucky to visit family because Brian was the one that was experienced it with us that night. Uh, besides her hair being pulled and stuff like that, I got that on video. Her hair was manipulated. I mean, she had to convince me of it by pulling the cards. Uh, I mean, there's just so many. One night we was sitting here at the kitchen table. I don't have that on video. We didn't have the cameras. Uh, our son Justin, his girlfriend Tanya, her two daughters, and me and Melissa was all sitting at the table eating supper. We had a 15-pound uh, uh,
Step stool.
step stool that folds in and out. It's all metal between the stand-up freezer and the wall. One night that came flying out from behind the stand-up freezer to about 3 foot behind Justin. We all seen that. Uh, I mean, there's just so much. Back in the early '60s, about maybe 4 years old, I remember sitting on the floor by my mom, and we was watching Teenage Werewolf. Uh, that was by Michael Landon. If anybody remember who Michael Landon was, it was a movie he made back. I think it was '58. It was in the '50s. He made it, but I mean, it was early '60s. Sitting there watching. Well, while I was sitting there watching it, we heard footsteps coming from the attic above us. And I remember looking up at my mom, and my mom looked down at me and says, "Well, this place is supposed to be haunted." We was living with her sister at the time. Well, I remember jumping in her lap. We finished watching the movie, and then everything was hunky dory after that. But that was the first thing that I remember vividly in my mind that took place. Then over the years, strange things happened. Uh, Navy, we picked up something on surface search radar. No ships around, no aircraft, 1,000 miles away from land. Uh, we were able to physically see it about 12 miles out from the ship, about 22 miles out. It measured 22 miles out from the ship. It stayed dead, steady bearing. The range did not increase or decrease range or anything like that. So whatever was off the horizon was following the ship. That followed us for about maybe uh, 10, 12 minutes or so. Then all of a sudden it just blipped off the radar. I mean, I can go into more detail on that, but that take too much time. A lot of people ain't going to understand how a lot of that stuff works between surface search and air search radars. Then when I did 3 in the Navy, I went to the Army. I remember in Panama, I never did get into voodoo or nothing like that. But I remember when I was in the Army, in the MP Corps, me and my dog was out in the jungle. We pretty much worked the jungle at nighttime. That was our duty time to keep thieves from coming on post or breaking into housing. The 2 times I came across clothing out in the middle of the woods, out in the middle of the jungle, along a couple of trails that were half burnt, sitting around candles. But apparently that's voodoo stuff. I mean, somebody either is trying to get rid of hexes, or somebody's trying to put a hex on somebody, or just female clothing, or a female did something she wasn't supposed to, and to get rid of her sin or whatever, they go out and burn the clothing. I mean, I don't understand all that, but I remember seeing that in Panama, which I found intriguing. You hear about that stuff on TV when you get into voodoo and all that other stuff. Uh, we we we'd hear stuff in the houses where we used to live at, croquet sets being hit, the balls being hit across the basement floor and rolling, hitting the wall and stopping. You hear that wooden mallet hitting that wooden ball again, and it would roll across the floor and then stop. Uh, Two people don't hear the same thing at the same time for it to be a figment of one's imagination. It doesn't happen that way. And
Exactly.
this is when I was growing up back in Evansville, Indiana. And that's just a few things. I mean, we're not overwhelmed with things happening. We have had other stuff happen here in the house by ghosts that we think might be named Henry. Without getting into all that, there's a story behind that. Yeah, don't. We'll be here till 2 o'clock in the morning. If she gets to talking about it. But we things have happened, and I'm here to tell you, for all the skeptics out there, if you never experienced anything, I can understand why you're a skeptic. But until it happens to you, to get your mind opened up a little bit, you're not going to have any understanding of what other people go through. You've got to open your mind up. We've been camping now with Daniel now for going on 5 years. We never had any real paranormal stuff happen camping. We were pretty much out looking for Bigfoot or cryptids in that nature. But then this last year, we've been going to this one spot out there in the primitive area for what? That's the third year of camping out there. The 1st couple of years we were at Elkhorn, then we shifted over here. First couple of years, nothing really happened as far as paranormal. Then this last year, May and October, different things happened between our equipment's going on and off dead, batteries going dead. turning on by themselves, seeing light in the woods. Craig and Cheryl seen possibly Bigfoot by the gate in the same area where we've been having these this past September in 2024 in the same area where we're camping at and whatnot. I mean, there's so much like in this. I mean, it could be anywhere out there, but based on it happened in the area where we were camping and researching that. The same thing had probably happened all over through there, but we can only speak for what happened to us for the last two campouts that we were there. And again, that's too much to go into on that. As far as that, Daniel's already made videos on it, told a little bit about it. As far as that, I mean, it's just unreal. And I know for a fact out there. And then again, if you take into account, people, they're going to say they don't believe in ghosts, they don't believe in spirits, but they'll believe in the Bible. If they believe in the Bible and they understand and read what the Bible says, there are ghosts and spirits. Point blank. You can't have one or the other. Okay, they coincide with each other. To what extent, I can't tell you. But people contradict themselves when it comes to it. We had a couple, when I was working at Krispy Kreme, one girl I know of, she was an atheist, did not believe in God. But yet you get to talking about evil spirits, she don't want nothing to do with that. You follow where I'm going with this? She believe in evil spirits, but she won't believe in the Almighty. So that people contradict themselves. I mean, I don't understand how the hell they can contradict themselves. You can't believe in one and the other not exist.
Exactly.
As far as that correlation. But the takeaway from all this, I had to keep my security clearance when I was in the military to be able to retire. I stayed in 21 years. So yeah, I don't go. You don't go out talking about that stuff, and especially back in my time, you don't want people to start questioning your credibility. Is basically what I'm getting to. And then when I retired from there, I went to law enforcement here at the local sheriff's office, and I pretty much had the same mindset. Would it be strict? Would it be just as strict there as it was in the military? Maybe not, but I didn't want to chance it. So we really didn't get into any kind of research or anything like that until I finally retired from the sheriff's office, and we met up with Daniel, got to know William, and they just opened up a whole new world. It's something we've been wanting to do anyway, and now we have the ability and the time. And we're not rich, but we do accumulate equipment here and there. We research before we buy, because I'm not one to go out and buy something that's not going to work for what you want. Then you're going to buy something else to be better. I focus on researching before I go out and make a purchase. I suggest everybody do that. Otherwise, you're going to end up with 30 pieces of equipment, and you're only going to use 10% of it because the other parts didn't work the way you expected.
Yeah.
Researching the equipment you buy if you're going to get into this kind of stuff. Learn the equipment. Getting out there in the field is not the time to try to learn it. Learn it before you get out there in the field. That way you run into less issues when you're out there trying to do your documentation and everything else. Yeah, we've had quite a bit of stuff happen. I mean, there's a lot more than what I talked about, but we don't have all night to do that. She's had her own experiences at the same time on different things. And I'm sure there's many people out there can tell their own stories on the experience they had. But a lot of people write it off as nothing, or they refuse to want to accept what they experienced as a possibility. There's something else going on. Now we can get into other dimensions. We can get into. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole tonight. We don't have enough time.
Right.
But again, you can't say not, because right now they're looking at changing the laws of physics, because they're learning new things, and everything we think we understand about the laws of physics may not be what we think physics is. I mean, it just keeps going on and on and on. In 1850, they didn't have cell phones. Now what do we got? Things change all the time. Things advance all the time. Now we got AI. AI is going to be one of the burdens in our butt as we move forward in a lot of stuff, because things are being created to where it looks real. You're not going to know what's real and what isn't. And that's why Daniel wanted to make this tonight, is because we're going to be real about what we're going to do. There's not going to be any AI stuff put in it, anything fabricating. Now his graphics and stuff, he might use AI for his background and stuff like that, which is perfectly fine. But when it comes down to actually be doing field work, what you see is what you're going to get. If it's something, great. If it's not, at least we're showing what we're doing and explaining what we're doing as we go along, and uh, just keep people informed about what we're doing out there, and we're having fun doing it, and that's what it boils down to.
Absolutely.
And I always say that if we're ever sitting around a campfire one night and Luna takes off running, we all better run.
Well, she might take off running to go after a deer or something.
A rabbit, yeah. A deer, probably not.
She's
Yeah.
obsessed with rabbits, that's for
She's
sure.
she's not a mean dog. I mean, you've been out there and you hear she pick up a scent and start growling a little bit. But
Yeah.
again, I like that. It gets your awareness up on like what's got her attention.
Right.
Uh, but she loves people. She loves being around people, and I like to have her for the early warning out there. There's people say, "Well, you're taking a dog out there when you do research." There's no right way or wrong way about it. And if we get enough people out there together where we split off in teams, I'll take her off in another direction while other teams go in other directions. One could interact with the other to push things around to move around.
Mhm.
You never know. There's no right way or wrong way to go about it. We always come up with ideas, and she's now part of the team out there anyway. And
It's you mentioned, because I know you brought that up because we've had people say something about, hey, you bringing dogs out there, and it's, that's wrong, blah blah blah. But I know I'm not the only one that thinks this or believes this, but Bigfoot's a very curious, subject or or being for that matter, regardless of how you view Bigfoot. I think for a Bigfoot to be watching and observing, a lot of people think or believe that Bigfoot watches us or observes us while we're out there. I do believe that. I
yeah,
do.
Mhm.
For
I
them
believe
to
that.
see, for them to see a dog out there, okay, yeah, I'm sure they see tons of coyotes, and maybe if there's wolves in the area, maybe they see a wolf, but they're gonna see like something like a German Shepherd out there, like Luna. Like, wait a minute, this don't belong out here. It's gonna draw. It's gonna capture their attention. It's gonna like get them curious. Like, where the heck did this come from?
Possibly, or it don't phase them a bit because the people don't real people.
Well, yeah.
Hunters go out and run dogs coon hunting. They go
Well,
out and
that's true.
they go out and run bear with dogs. So Bigfoot being out there, they're already exposed to all this activity and dogs and people and everything else.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about all
I mean,
that.
they're not stupid.
Yeah.
I was watching TV today. I don't know if you've thought about this aspect of it. I just found it intriguing. There was a scientist on this program that went out and did his own research by himself in the woods. He documented it, and he came up on a pile of bones, raccoon, deer, so on and so forth. And then the pile of bones, and some of it was strictly bones, some of it still had flesh attached. The bones is covered up with vegetation
Yep.
out in the boondocks, way out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I found that up in Pennsylvania like that
But
many years ago. Yeah.
what I found intriguing is he found two stones that looked like they could have been used as tools. I guess you could say to emulate. Like, if you ever seen any tools from the Cro-Magnon period and all that other stuff, where the caveman would make tools out of bones and stone and whatnot.
Right.
He didn't say it was 100%, but he found two of them that had markings on them. I don't mean hieroglyphics or anything like that, but to where they were like being scraped, they could have been used as like a defleshing type tool for that. I never thought about that. If you find something like that to see, besides only human evidence being around, see if you look for stuff like that as a possibility too. Because we know monkeys, some of them can make tools.
Hmm.
They'll take sticks and put them in a daggone termite hole to get termites to crawl up and eat it, stuff like that. So, possibility, something else to keep in the back of their minds when we go out there, when we find things. If we've come across stuff like that in the future,
Right.
look for additional stuff besides prints. I mean, look for everything that we're looking for, but see if you see anything that could resemble a tool that may be there that might be used
Yeah,
of the
absolutely.
natural environment. Just something to think about. I'm just throw that out there.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that. For example, there's um, yeah, again, they may not even be nothing, but over around the Elkhorn Lake area, along the edges of one of the streams, you know, I like looking at rocks and stuff. You know, my daughter's always been fascinated by different rocks and stones. Now I go out there finding rocks and stones because I'll find cool looking rocks and stones to bring home for my grandson to paint or do whatever. So
Just don't bring any of the Melissa. She'll bring them home. You take me to grandson all you want.
well, yeah, I got stones at home here that I brought back from up around Fox Run where we camp at.
I love
From
rocks.
yeah. Um, Watch, David. I'm going to be joining Melissa in May. We'll be coming back with a bundle of rocks.
She does.
I'm like, Katie, look what I got.
Put it in my pockets till it's weighing my pants down.
I'm going to tell Katie and Melissa pick these ones out for you, Katie. So, but yeah, I have found different types of rocks, different ones that stood out to me, like that I never took them home, but I kept them off the side of the creek. I put them off the side in a little cluster or whatever. Some of them look like they may have been from many years ago, like an old axe head, or that shape. They always look like a axe head or something that could have been used as some type of tool. I mean, I know stones come in all shapes and sizes, but some of them look different to me. So but
Well, a lot of them will resemble stuff like that, but you got to be careful with stuff like that because you're going to have natural weathering to do that with
yeah,
sand and water running over stones is going to shape them. I'm
exactly.
not an expert in that. I know that those that are have ways to be able to tell if they could have been man-made, by Native American or whatever the case may be. Uh, Stream beds, well, they find arrowheads in stream beds. I guess it's possible to find stuff like that. I mean, I wouldn't know what to look for. I
Yeah,
know what to look for is shape and whatnot, but as far as is that natural erosion
yeah,
or does it have tool marks on it to where it was actually shaped? I mean, I have no idea.
right.
I've never really gone down that path as far as anything like that.
Now another thing, and I found this up in around Elkhorn. Hiking up on the hills and the mountains and various areas. I don't know. I know people do this, but I've also found it fascinating at the same time. Is you could be walking up a hill and come across a tree stump. Regardless if it was cut at one time or not cut at one time, it was remains of old tree stump where you'll find a rock sitting on top of it. Now, do hikers and hunters mark them? Do that for various for whatever reason? I'm sure they do, maybe, but I've always been fascinated by finding rocks on top of tree stumps. You know, like why a I don't I don't know. Maybe somebody wants to. Okay, I'm gonna find. Say I'm a hunter. I'm going back in the woods. I need to find that tree stump where I put that rock at. Maybe that's where I want to hunt at. So I
Or to
think
find a way, or to mark your trails when you go in and out. That's what we got to be careful about while we're out
right.
there. Is it an area commonly used by hikers and stuff? Is it on a hiking trail or just off the trail in case somebody steers off? Now,
Right.
if you're a quarter mile deep in the woods, and you come up on a stream bed that nobody goes to, and you find something like that, yeah, I'd give more credence to it. I mean, just like if when we go out to our area, if we find anything that could resemble a tree structure along the gravel road we walk by,
Yeah.
I can't take that because too many people over the summer travel that, and somebody just may want to put something there to fool other people walking by. I got
Oh
to get
yeah.
off. As you know, we got to get off the beaten path where
Right.
people are going to go, and then take
Absolutely.
physics into account on how it was made or put together, or because you find things out there that normal weather is not going to allow that to happen when physics become involved. A couple of
Right.
three things falling together look like a TP. Yeah, possibly weather related.
Right.
You get 8, 9, or 10 of them stacked around to where it's got formation and stuff. I'm sorry, there's no way they're going to do that. Now
Yeah.
you're back to, did a man do it or what? Well, it's like a couple of campouts last year to 2024 when you found on the other side where we were camping at something made something off the ground on the ground that was put together with the sticks going across it, and it's
Right.
about maybe a foot high cubby hole from the ground to the top of it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What
When
made
it was me, you, and
who
Luna, that was up.
made that?
Yeah,
I mean, I can't see a hunter ain't going to do it. It wasn't big enough for a blind or
exactly.
anybody to crawl into it.
Because
It
I've come
wasn't
across
that
a lot of
big,
hunt. Yeah, I've come across a
but
lot of
it was
natural
put
hunting blinds
together
from hunters,
because
and that
all
yeah,
it was put together because all the daggone limbs on top of it were all in one direction, uniform,
exactly.
and it made like a I don't know an area where you could slide something in to hide it to conceal it. Is what
Yeah,
it looked like. I have no idea why it was there or why it was made,
yeah.
and I can't see a hunter doing it for what purpose. It wasn't big
Now,
enough. I mean, they make turkey blinds and stuff like that and whatnot, but that it wasn't a blind.
now I've been with other people and have found other similar roundabout things like that that look like that, or I've seen other people post on social media, Bigfoot groups have seen different things that might be or might resemble something like that. I've heard different theories, and
Yeah, I mean,
it's
what do you do?
pe- yeah. I mean, people have these theories, and it doesn't make them factual information, but it gets you thinking. Like, could it be? Like, for example, what we're talking about? Um, it could have been like, hey, could a Bigfoot put its young there, hide its young there for while it did something different in the year? I don't know. Weird things like that.
Depending, not unless they're in there laying down. Whatever get
Right,
up in there would have to lay down, and it wasn't but maybe that high off the ground, the top of
right.
the structure to where the ground is. I mean, it wasn't very tall, and maybe what I don't know,
Uh,
2.5, 3 foot wide at the most, and maybe 3 foot long.
I mean, yeah, it might have been slightly a little bigger. I mean,
What?
basically, I've actually
I
looked at that
try to
scene a
remember,
few.
but
Yeah, because I
why though?
recorded all that. I looked at that scene a
What
few
made it?
different times. It was definitely interesting.
I don't
Yeah,
understand why it was made. For what purpose? Hunting
right.
doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I mean, it wasn't big enough for anything for hunting use.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that area is very interesting there. But yeah, I mean, on the opposite side, behind the other side of the stream, behind the stream. I mean, I've been up that hill before, and I went way up behind there. And, there's a lot of interesting stuff up there. I would love to get. I would love to get like me and Drew's been up there with me before, but I went a lot further than where me and Drew went before. But it's definitely very interesting up in that area. Um,
Mhm.
do you remember the one time? I don't know where everyone else was. I think it was before everyone else got there. It was like a day or two earlier before the rest of the group got there. And I decided, I don't know, I can't remember exactly when it was, but I know you were at base camp, and I took a radio with me. I didn't know how far I was going to go, but I decided I just wanted to go for a hike. I wanted to go up behind there. I climbed that little hill, went beyond there, then came to another higher ridge. I climbed that one, came up on there, and I stumbled across an old, what looked like an old logging road. Like, okay, this is well, it used to be used. You can see where, whatever. I just decided to follow this old logging road, that went along this top of this ridge. And that's where I found an old abandoned school bus off the side. I don't know if you remember the pictures I
That
showed
was the
you over
last
here.
camp out. Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
last camp out.
So I came across all that, and then along the way, when I realized when I still had phone service up there, and I was able to pull up on my, because it kind of showed me the area where I was at and how far I was from where you were, and I was like, and then I just thought, oh, the other smaller lake. I said, well, if I continue in this direction, it's going to bring me over here, which I'm glad it worked out to where my phone had access to all that, where I was able to see where I was in the direction I actually ventured into compared to where I was by the time I looked at it. This is pretty cool. But but for future reference, maybe somewhere down the road, I'd like maybe get another person or a couple others up there, work the way up there, because it was interesting. I mean, I found, it's just the way of the layout of the land looked pretty interesting up there.
Well, school bus up there is bound to be other stuff.
Yeah, I mean that old school bus. I mean, when I looked inside, it had actually old small box spring frames in there that had the springs on them. Like maybe somebody used it as a hunting camp or the camping. For
That's
hunting.
always a possibility.
That's the
I
only
mean,
thing I could think of. I mean, it was right
was
off
there
the edge,
any
like, huh?
was there any roads around it or any other buildings, rundown buildings around that area?
No, I mean the only way I came across that was the old logging trail that I was actually working on.
Something
I
has to have
mean,
been used in eons,
yeah.
especially as old as the bus was.
I mean, I walked around. I looked inside the windows. I mean, the door was. If you walk on the back side of it, the door was opened up, but I wasn't trying to go in there because it was really rusted. I didn't want to get cut and scraped by the old rusted metal, So,
Yeah,
but I mean, I filmed it. I took pictures of it. It was pretty cool. I mean,
yeah,
I thought it was cool.
I've
So,
seen the pictures.
yeah, but yeah, it was interesting. I mean, like I said, it could have been somebody's hunting camp or whatever you want to call it. People just dropped it there and said, "We're going to use this for camping." I mean, there was an old rusted barrel nearby. I mean, whatever. Maybe they use that to make a fire and a burn or something at some point in time. But so,
An old moonshine site, old
yeah, you
still
never know.
probably. You never know.
No, I'd say
Anything's possible.
hunting.
I mean, people are more clever about moonshine these days. I'm sure it goes on in places that we least expect it.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, but well, a part of this off the topic stuff, I love going off topic. I really do because it gets into some interesting discussions. But I'm sure this is not going to be the last time I probably talk about this and bring it up. But I just want to keep people informed, on what we're doing and why we do, and for the people that are still listening, and for the future listeners, if you guys listen this long, because we've been on for over 2 hours.
Again?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
2 hours and 38 minutes. So
Ooh.
yeah, um, but I want people to understand and understand and learn that we're filming what we do. We're not out here for produce entertainment and excitement. Um, but if you choose to continue to follow and watch what we produce and put out there, you're gonna learn that we're out there. We're having fun. We're learning, and as we learn, we're gonna share it with you. Uh, because it's just the reason I'm doing this and why I decided to, when it was presented to me in the first place, hey, we could put you on a streaming network. Well, hey, that's great. I want to do this because my biggest thing, and I've repeated it over the years, even with my small field videos when I first started into this whole subject, the more people that gets to see what I do, and the more people I could reach out there by. I like to be educational. I've always tried to be educational in my field videos over the years. I figured, hey, if I could get on a streaming network, it's gonna reach that much more of an audience. That where I don't care if you believe or not, but it's about spreading awareness, and that's why we're choosing to do our field videos and our time out there in the field and putting it on a streaming network. Uh, we're not trying to compare ourselves or put ourselves out there with Expedition Bigfoot or Finding Bigfoot because I will be straight up and honest. You know, they are strictly entertainment. They make themselves look good by using fancy equipment. They're funded by big time networks. The networks are funding them. The networks are putting this equipment into their possession. What you see from us is what we purchased on our own, and we have some pretty cool equipment. You know, we put our equipment to use to the best of our ability. But what you're seeing is a network that's going to draw your attention by producing images that you'll never hear about afterwards. Because, yeah, they show images of what looks like a thermal, upright human figure walking through the woods. You'll never hear about that after that episode because they're doing what's necessary to keep you drawn in to keep watching their network because the network pays them. The network is what's making the money. As long as that network has views, you're making them money. We could care less who watches this, but we want you to know the difference between us and them. We're independent. We're not part of a network. We're not funded by this. So we want people to understand that this is what real research looks like compared to what you watch on Discovery Channel or the History Channel or whatever else you watch. You guys are watching something that's fabricated and constructed for your entertainment. People don't want to believe that, but maybe one day you'll wake up and realize, oh crap, yeah,
And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I watch them too.
yeah, I do
But
too.
I keep everything real. I keep it practical. I know what they're about and what they're doing. And a lot of the people that's on them again, real quick, they're out there. They want to do legitimate work, but again, they also have to conform to what the network wants
Right,
because it's about making money. And
and
I've gotten I've got sure Danny has, but just by watching them, I've gotten it gave me ideas of what we could do. You know what I do out there in the film, how I go
oh,
about some things.
same with me,
As well,
absolutely.
yeah, as well as developing, my what I want to do too. It gives you ideas.
Exactly.
I'm not, I'm going to watch them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but just keep in mind it is a network and it's for entertainment, and that's fine. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what TV's all about.
right,
He's not making, Daniel's not trying to make it sound derogatory. He's trying to
right,
make a distinction between what you see on TV to what we do and others like us out there with their own time, our own equipment, and what we're putting into it.
exactly.
We
And,
don't answer to nobody but ourselves.
right. What a lot of people don't understand too is finding Bigfoot, Expedition Bigfoot, or whatever other series might be out there on these big networks. They're under contract. They signed a contract. Uh, they signed something where what happens on that show, they can't discuss it with the general public about what's behind the scenes that you don't know about. Why they can't, like, okay, yeah, network, whatever, yeah, they put this in the
Until
scenes.
after it airs. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pretty much after there. And then
Um,
again, that's why some of the other people that's been on there in the past, you don't see them on another season because when contracts dissolve, they go for negotiations. They want more money. Not
right.
all of them, but some of them want more money. And if they don't, the networks don't want to give more money, then they leave. They bring somebody new on, fill their spot. I mean, that's part of the game. I mean, that's the way they operate, and that's fine. That's fine.
Now, David's retired. I myself, I have a long ways to go yet, unless something miracle happens. But but I would love to be out there full time. Um, I know I've spoken with people. They think I do this for a living. I wish I could. I really do. People don't realize Russell Accord will tell you himself that man's got a full time job.
Yeah.
Expedition Bigfoot is not his career. He works at a factory or a warehouse, just like I do. I've seen he's actually posted pictures. He's actually working in a factory. I don't know exactly what he does. He doesn't put it out there, but he does work for a living. He's got to work. You know, he makes money off of the show. Every time it airs or whatever, how they work. I don't know what they get paid. It's none of my business. But yeah, they get paid so much for that show. You know, and of course, yeah, when they go to appear at an event, they're getting thousands of dollars. You know, because their popularity level jumped up there. They get paid some good money.
And they get
But
rerun rights too. Every time the show airs on
yeah,
TV, they all get a little portion of proceeds from
exactly.
advertising.
Yeah, I'm sure Cliff Brackman and Bobo, and all them, if their show gets aired, yeah, because they're contracted through the network that reruns their show. I mean, they get royalties and stuff too.
Well,
Even though
Cook is the one that told me about that. I mean, Cook says he loves it every time they air his episode on something in the woods.
Oh, yeah, haunted. These woods are haunted. Yeah,
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, the cook. You know, cook. He's
Yeah,
sold that
Michael
Bigfoot.
sauce.
Cook.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he says he loves it every time they air it because he gets a small, not huge, but a proceeds from it every time they air it. You know, so
yeah, absolutely.
and that's fine. You know, that's fine. You know,
Yeah, I've actually been recent. Um, he's not in Kentucky right now. He's been down in Alabama. He's actually living in Alabama right now with because of the job he does. And I'm working on trying to meet up with him. He has plans to be back up in Kentucky to visit and stay for a little while later in the summer or whatnot. But so yeah, I've been in contact with him. I talked to him about a few things. I'm hoping to meet up with him because I told him he knows what I'm doing with the filming and everything. He knows I've been working on filming it, doing interviews with people. So he has agreed to keep me informed when he's going to plan do that, and hopefully I can ride down there and meet up with him. Of course, he's from the eastern part of Kentucky in Harlan, Kentucky, which
mm.
I've been down there. I forget how long ago it was. Last time I went down, it was a good Harlan, Kentucky. From here, it's probably about a good 5 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Because I know I went down there with my daughter. Yeah, it was a good 5 hour drive. So, but yeah, I want to go down there. Of course, I plan on probably spending a good long weekend down there when that time comes. But uh, I would love to meet up with him because he has a very interesting story. I've heard his story numerous times. He always brings it up in presentations. It's very fascinating. I want to say he was about 16 years old, and if I'm not mistaken, when he had his experience, yeah, he was 16 when that happened. So, but yeah, Kentucky's got a lot of history, Bigfoot history. I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of listeners and viewers, you guys are aware of this, but yeah, but there's definitely Bigfoot in the Kentucky state. So I believe that wholeheartedly because I mean, anyone who's ever been to Kentucky. Oh, David, you're from Kentucky, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm from the middle of Kentucky.
Oh, okay. I mean,
He lives on the eastern side where it's more wooded and mountainous and stuff where it runs up into West Virginia. So
gotcha.
that's where a lot of the sightings come from.
Yeah, the first time I've ever been to Kentucky was 25, probably a good 25 or more years ago when I was married to my first wife. We drove from Chesterfield, Virginia down to Fort Knox, Kentucky because her brother was graduating from boot camp down there. So, yeah, wow. We drove down in my 1980 Oldsmobile, which that thing was a boat. I love that car. But we took my 1980 Oldsmobile, drove from Chesterfield, Virginia down to Fort Knox, Kentucky, and stayed on the base. So,
Mhm.
it was pretty cool. It was, yeah, the base, Fort Knox. Yeah, I don't know if other bases have this, but they had like a hotel. We stayed on the base at a hotel, which I thought was pretty cool.
Well, back then, all the bases did.
Oh, okay, okay, very cool. But yeah, we were there for the weekend, and we had to drive all the way back. Which, yeah,
Yeah, it's not open to the general. They're not open to the general public per se,
right.
but they do accommodate families coming in for graduations and stuff like that.
Okay.
And that's why a lot of them are there because a lot of people come in from out of state and whatnot, and they give them a disc. You know, they don't charge them as much as normal hotels and stuff to stay, and they're right there on post. You know, because Fort
Yeah.
Knox is about 30-minute drive from Louisville. You got Elizabethtown
Yeah.
right there in Radcliffe, uh, which is right outside the gates. But which you can get hotels at obviously too. But yeah, the on base stuff is for multiple reasons. Families coming in, maybe other service members are coming there to for surgeries from another installation or something like that. And I mean, yeah, they operate like any other one, but it's not open to the public to go on there just to get a room.
Yeah.
There's got to be like military function behind it.
The one thing I never seen in Kentucky, I mean, the few times I've been down there, I've never seen bluegrass.
But you got to stay sober to see it.
I was definitely sober when I drove down there with my first wife. Yeah, I was like I was like a 19, 20-year-old kid driving down there. That was that was a long time ago. But well, then again, I've been down there. When's the last time I was down there? I went down there. I stayed in Harlan. Me and Brianna, my daughter Brianna, we rode down there together, and like I said, that was a pretty neat area. It was pretty cool because we drove all the way down through Virginia and went through Norton, Virginia, brought us into Kentucky from through just west of Norton, Virginia. So, but yeah, interesting. Yeah, I definitely want to get back. I definitely want to get back down there again. One thing I want to do down in Kentucky, I've ever since I've learned about it. Um, Actually, I didn't know about this till up to about 4 or 5 years ago. But you guys probably already aware of this. I don't know if you've seen it or not. But Kentucky has it's a tourist attraction of Noah's Ark.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've always
Haven't seen
wanted. Yeah, I've never been there. I've always wanted to go down there and visit that. I think that would be the coolest thing
it.
ever.
More
It
the
has a,
eastern part of
it's
Kentucky, I
yeah,
think.
it's just north of Lexington, Kentucky, but it's only been open like now 4 years, something like that. It hasn't always
Mhm.
been there.
Yeah.
It's relatively new.
Huh.
If you want to call like 4 years or so new. I have
Yeah.
to look it up, get the exact date, but it's not always been there.
Right.
It wasn't there
Right.
back in my day anyway.
Hold on. Yeah, we're gonna have to jump off here anyway. I don't know why. Man, my thing plugged into my laptop. It's like really hot. I just had a notification that my battery's low on the laptop. I don't know why it's plugged in. That's very weird. I'll have to check into that. So yeah, 'cause, I'm pretty sure I got. I don't know. I'm pretty sure this is the correct thing here. Let me try something. Yes, I know it says the battery's low. So well, we're gonna have to call it a night just to be on the safe side. I don't know what's going on with my laptop here. I need to check the plug. But so yeah, guys, we're gonna be back. For those who are still listening and hanging in there, you're gonna hear more from us. I think for future videos and when we do other, our next camp out, I think it would be great to get on here and do other discussions. Kind of do like a debriefing and discuss what we've experienced. Of course, everything will be viewed through the edited films and the uploads. I'm just glad that the networks are getting things together, and then you guys can follow things on Fox and TV. And because Bigfoot Explorers, Gone Rogue, that's coming up soon. That'll be coming within two weeks or so after Fossum. I mean, Bigfoot Explorers finally gets up and going. Like I said, I have all those. I posted all the Bigfoot Explorer series on my YouTube channel. The only reason I put them on YouTube channel because I felt obligated to do so because I didn't want to leave you guys hanging after. It basically almost seemed like a promise to have the network put it on the streaming network, and everybody was looking forward to it, and it never happened. Again, that wasn't my fault. That was a network issue. So, but it's going to be finally happening from what I was confirmed on. So, but as far as Gone Rogue, I haven't posted none of that on YouTube except for the promo or the trailer for that. So, but yeah, I want to thank everybody for being patient and hanging in there and support me over the years. Uh, I mean, me and my group, Dave and Melissa, John, Mary, Drew, and anyone else that comes out with us. Again, we're going to go out there having a good time. And if we experience something, I hope we do capture it to share it with you. I mean, that's our goal. We want to be able to share things that we experience with you guys. And we plan on keeping it educational, keeping it straight, straightforward, straight to the point, and fun. So, David and Melissa, you guys have anything you want to share before we jump off here?
No. Just had another good discussion tonight and stuff like that. I know the original intent was reinforcing what the group's about and what we're out there for. And again, people can criticize all they want, make whatever comments they want. It's very few that do that, but they ain't gonna hurt my feelings any. I mean, I'm still gonna drink my coffee, and we're still gonna do what we're gonna do. And I know what my life's about, and we're gonna keep on trucking.
Absolutely. So we do appreciate if you guys are willing to support us. Um, you know, if anyone out there, I'll throw this out there too. I mean, I'm not afraid to throw this out there. If you want to donate to what we're doing, this filming project with Bigfoot Explorers or anything, reach out to any one of us if you want to donate. You can reach out to David or Melissa. You can reach out to me. For those who are viewing on Facebook, excuse me, on YouTube, there is an option if you're on the live chat. There is a donation button. You can send money in if you want to help support us, and if you believe in what we're doing, we definitely appreciate it. You can reach out to any of us. Any donations you want to submit to us, donate to us, it would definitely be appreciated because we could use it towards a number of things. When we do our group campouts, it can go towards food or whatever. Future equipment. And updates on stuff. It's all appreciated, but I'm not afraid to throw that out there and ask for you know I'm not going to ask and beg for it, but I'll throw it out there that we do appreciate it. We would love to have donations, but it's not necessary. But our donations are very much appreciated. And yeah, thank you guys again for watching and following us and everything I've done through this YouTube channel over the years. Uh, Again, after other episodes and other incidents, anything that we experience, we'll come back on here. We'll talk and discuss it, and do a little debriefing. We'll also have other eyewitnesses on here talking Bigfoot and sharing their experiences. So just hang in there, be patient. You guys come a long ways with me already, so there's more on the way. But thank you guys again, and keep it squatchy. And till next time, guys, we're out. Thank you
We ain't
guys very
going
much.
nowhere. We'll see y'all later.
Have a good night.
Absolutely. Whoop.